that you're now talking about housing, and just bring us up to date as to where we are.
I'm sorry, Kamar. The need for writing the article. What was the question?
Yes, what prompted you to be focusing on this at this time?
It's several things. I'm an employer of several young professionals, but also I remember my journey to home ownership, and I'm frustrated as well for the young professionals in terms of their prospect or the difficulty of the prospect of owning a home. And we're also housing developers, and we see the challenges they face when interest rates go up, and also when there's limited supply in the market. Um, and also as an engineer, we're frustrated when we see maybe development that is mismatched with the needs of the country and the needs of the brains of the country. You know, when these young professionals leave Jamaica, Kamar, it doesn't do us any good as a country. You know, losing 85% of your human capital is a phenomenal loss. So I was motivated to write, um, to just put my 2 cents on paper. I think also what prompted it was the night before on TV was a story on the sewage in the streets downtown, which is a recurring problem for the last few years. And the two kind of come together because the city needs to be rejuvenated. It's time now to, you know, carry us into a new age, and we can't be having these very basic problems persist for so long. And so much of our people need homes. Let's rejuvenate the city, make spaces for them to want to live here, and make it possible for them to live here, so they're not going to, you know, serve another country.
Yes, and before I go to Miss Jazz, for further context, you describe it as we're having a housing crisis. Tell us why you say that we're having a housing crisis, especially for young professionals.
A crisis can be defined in several ways: affordability, supply in terms of deficit, and the financial aspect of it. But certainly in terms of deficit, in terms of numbers, we do not have enough houses available to the market. From 1960, the need for 150 homes per year was 150,000 homes in total. About 15,000 per year was defined, and that has been consistent study after study from 1960 to now. And you know, we consistently fall below that threshold. Only in 2 points in our history have we reached anywhere near that. In the 1970s and the 1990s, we reached 8,000 and 10,000 homes produced per year. And so it's a crisis because we just don't have enough. And when you have less of something, the price will go up.
The
And also in terms of affordability, the prices that these apartments are being sold for in a range of 30 to 40 million is almost twice what a typical young professional can afford. A young professional can afford something between 20 and 25 million, but not when it gets into the 35 and the 45 million. That's a crisis when you can't afford it.
and certainly we have to come to talk about that because a lot of things happening there in the housing market. Miss Jazz, let me bring you into the discourse now. Um, Firstly, you agree that we're having a crisis based on from your observation, from your standpoint. Mr. Dr. Burgess has focused on young professionals. Let's just look at that first and then broaden the discussion wider because we now have to look at, for example, social transformation housing and other things in the discussion.
Yes, I definitely agree that
Blessed is the man. Sorry. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the ways of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law do we meditate day and night. For we shall be like trees planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth our fruit in our season. Our leaves shall not wither, and whatsoever we do shall prosper. Welcome to Portland Spice TV for yet another Saturday morning. Make this the 15th one of March 2025. Still have 3 minutes going up to 9 o'clock. We have a few clips that we want to share with you this morning. So we're asking you to share the channel. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe. Send out the link to all your contacts. Invite them. This morning, we're going to be having Comrade Dixon, MP candidate. Not telling you where yet. He's going to be on this morning. And then at 10 o'clock, we're going to have Comrade Julian Robinson, Shadow Minister of Finance, did his budget presentation on Thursday in the Parliament of Jamaica. A solid presentation, jam-packed with substance and truth. Truth was in the document. Substance. We're going to be talking to him this morning. But you heard Dr. Burgess there a while ago telling you that there was only 2 points in Jamaica where we start getting the kind of housing built that we're looking for. It was in the 1970s and the 1990s. Dr. Burgess is an engineer, he's a land surveyor, and only part of things. And I'm going to play about that clip before I play another one. Because if you never get it, I want you to listen to it.
Thank you so very much, as always, for joining us right here on the Morning Agenda on Power 106 FM. Dr. Burgess, is always so interesting to hear your opinions on these things. Let's start by you telling us the need, first of all, to write this article. Why is that you're not talking about housing, and just bring us up to date as to where we are.
I'm sorry, Kamar. The need for writing the article, what was the question?
Yes, what prompted you to be focusing on this at this time?
It's several things. I'm an employer of several young professionals, but also I remember my journey to home ownership, and I'm frustrated as well for the young professionals in terms of their prospect or the difficulty of the prospect of owning a home. And we're also housing developers, and we see the challenges they face when interest rates go up, and also when there's limited supply in the market. And also as an engineer, we're frustrated when we see maybe development that is mismatched with the needs of the country and the needs of the brains of the country. You know, when these young professionals leave Jamaica, Kamar, it doesn't do us any good as a country. You know, losing 85% of your human capital is a phenomenal loss. So I was motivated to write, to just put my 2 cents on paper. I think also what prompted it was the night before on TV was a story on the sewage in the streets downtown, which is a recurring problem for the last few years. And the two kind of come together because the city needs to be rejuvenated. It's time now to, carry it into a new age. And we can't be having these very basic problems persist for so long, and so much of our people need homes. Let's rejuvenate the city, make spaces for them to want to live here, and make it possible for them to live here so they're not going to, serve another country.
Yes. And before I go to Miss Jazz, for further context, you describe it as we're having a housing crisis. Tell us why you say that we're having a housing crisis, especially for young professionals.
A crisis can be defined in several ways: affordability, supply in terms of deficit, and the financial aspect of it. But certainly in terms of deficit, in terms of numbers, we do not have enough houses available to the market. From 1960, the need for 150 homes per year was 150,000 homes in total. About 15,000 per year was defined, and that has been consistent study after study from 1960 to now. And we consistently fall below that threshold. Only in 2 points in our history have we reached anywhere near that. In the 1970s and in the 1990s, we reached 8,000 and 10,000 homes produced per year. And so it's a crisis because we just don't have enough.
So you heard that only 2 times. And the 2 times, one at a time was Joshua, Joshua, and then Joshua PJ. The only 2 points in Jamaica where we got close to the kind of housing. Yeah, man. Welcome everybody to Portland Spice TV. My name is Colin Bell. We might make some changes to the times I gave you earlier. Just waiting on some further contacts because we have 2 guests this morning, and we want to give them some time. You know, Julian, I gonna need some time, but you know, we always can get Julian to come on and speak to us on whatever. So if we don't get enough time this morning, but if you have a question, you can send it in now in the chat room. We'll see it, we can punch it. All right. So here's another clip. Now I have two very interesting clips I want to play.
Good morning, Mr. Falcon. Good morning.
Thank you so very Thank you so very much for joining us as always on the morning agenda on Power 106 FM. Mr. Faulkner, I will start with you for an economic breakdown of what the opposition has presented, your own assessment of their plans.
So the main thing I think that came out yesterday was the proposed plan to, spread out government deposits across the commercial banking system. Because currently, most of it would be concentrated within two institutions, the two largest institutions. Now, I think that proposal is well-intentioned. Anything that is geared towards increasing competition within the banking system is always a good thing. However, I also think that if you were to now open it up to competition, then the institutions that can offer the highest rate would know, the money is going to flow to the institutions that can offer the higher rate. And then because in an attempt to outbid each other, then it might have an upward movement on interest rates, which is the opposite of what would have been proposed.
No, this views here, I don't understand this views here. And it's something that I want to take on, because if the banks are in competition for government deposit, it's deposit, So if they give the higher rate and the government get higher rates on their deposit, who benefits? I don't understand this. This piece of argument here, me find really missing the whole thing. Or either he miss it totally or me miss it totally. Because if we are going to put deposit in the bank and they are going to compete for the deposit, then it should have benefited the depositors. And it could have gone even further, where the government could have tied to all deposits. So the government could have said, well, if you give me 8%, you can't get nobody less than 80% of what you give me. And that would be a good thing for everybody. I don't understand that concern. Don't really understand it at all. And I am going to take it up. But on the first clip I play, I want to call Dean Jackson Miller. Dean Jackson Miller of the RGR Communication Group, beyond the headline and all angles fame. Mrs. Jackson Miller, I heard you told Professor Floyd Morrison that the GLP made more houses in Jamaica than the PNP. A calling for Dean Jackson Miller. She told Floyd Morrison on the program beyond the headline when Professor Floyd object, that she would check and come back. I have not heard you yet, Mrs. Jackson Miller. I'm a ardent listener to your program, especially beyond the headlines where it happened. I listen to that program religiously. Try my best not to miss it. So we're calling on you, ma'am, to come forward and give us that information because you say you're not going to check, but you're sure. So check it out for us, counsel. We want to know. The final clip I want to play is a clip with name? Omar Azan. Listen this.
What I will comment on is that right now, as it stands in the Jamaican economy, the economy is struggling. It's probably the worst I've seen in the 30-odd years I've been in business. The buying power is the weakest, and government needs to find ways to, catalyze the economy to be able to grow. We tried our best a few years ago, and Jamaica started to see growth. But right now, They've done so many things to stagnate the industry. Interest rates need to come down quickly. The Bank of Jamaica needs to come out of their tunnel vision and start thinking out of the box to manage the economy, because right now it's in a very stagnant stage and actually in a dying stage. And it is actually quite frightening what is happening out there. When you speak to business people, people are saying they're seeing anyway in a 50% down in terms of sales, their retail trade, and every expense is going up. Their rental rates that they're paying to rent these shops and stores is going up. Their light bill consistently is up. You know, it's a tough world out there, yes, but we can do things to make it a little easier for our people in this country. So the minister and the government has a lot to do, and the Bank of Jamaica and our commercial banks, to try and stimulate this economy, because if they don't start doing something now, the economy is going to start fumbling and they're going to be in big trouble.
I want you to expand on that a little bit more for me, Mr. Azan, because it's good to hear your views on that, because the data is suggesting, and we hear the government talk a lot about economic growth and inclusiveness. It talks about business confidence is at an all-time high. We know of unemployment rate, the best that it has been. Is it that the manufacturers are not seeing all of that? What exactly is happening? Why is there a dissonance between the two?
There are one or two businesses that may be seeing some growth, but I tell you, the general economy is struggling out there. The real estate side of things, the building, the construction side of things is slowing. Interest rates has played a major part in doing that. And the business side, the manufacturing side is struggling. And we need to find ways to stimulate back this economy, because what we've done over the years and tried to build it back, coming from where we're coming from, I think what we've done in terms of managing this inflationary issue, I think we've gone about it possibly in a little different way that we could do something, but it's creating a havoc in the economy right now. Buying power is the weakest that I have seen in all my years of doing business. I'm not just speaking from my own business, but generally because I sit on other boards, it is very weak, and it is actually a little frightening for me when I am looking out there and seeing what's happening in the economy out there. So we need to find ways of trying to find ways. The Bank of Jamaica needs to come out. Commercial banks need to start doing things to stimulate stuff, because you're going to find ourselves in a real pickle if we don't do something quickly.
We know the issue of the interest rates and the adjustment by the bank, the central bank, but not the commercial banks, has been an issue for a lot of different players in the market, Mr. Thwaites. Outside of that, you may probably make a comment on that as well from the association standpoint. And also, could you tell me what are some of the incentives that you see as necessary, the association see as necessary to assist the sector right now as it pertains to economic activity?
Yeah, sure. And Omar is echoing a sentiment that we've been in a 2-year environment of high interest rate and
I guess in the studio
lending is tight. So
yeah, man.
So these are the policies that slow down an economy. We've seen interest rates drop a couple of times, but we're not seeing the transmission of those rates at BOJ drops to the commercial banks, and that's a problem. We're half a year in off of our initial drop in interest rates, haven't seen that transmission to the market. That is a key issue in how you incent the growth in the economy and we get it moving again.
So morning. Welcome to Portland Spice TV. Morning, everybody. All the people in the chat room, Freedom, Ivan, Ryan, Beat and Teach, Mr. Samuels, Petra. Listen. Morning to all the Labourite trolls who come here. We're happy to have you because you will hear something and you will learn. Told you earlier, we're going to be talking to Dr. Dixon. And me are telling you now out of North Central Clarendon. We're going to be talking to him this morning. I'm going to make it clear. He's my comrade brother. Comrade, morning and welcome. We're not hearing your call.
Oh, morning. You hear me now?
Yes, man. Morning and welcome, sir. How you do?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I am giving God thanks in the season.
Yes.
In your season to reap. Dr. Dixon, morning. Welcome to Portland Spice TV. How is North Clarendon this morning?
Well, North Central.
North Central, yes.
Yeah, man, it's doing good. Bright and sunny this morning. We happened to get some rain yesterday after, a very long time without getting some rainfall. So we're happy for that as well. But it's bright and sunny this morning. We are doing well over here. And, we're looking forward to, even greater things to come for North Central Clarendon. And, I want to big up all your viewers who are tuned in as well. I don't want to leave them out. Thank you all for tuning in.
A young doctor, 31 years old, very young.
Yeah.
And going into the blood sport. Dr. Dixon, introduce yourself to my listeners and viewers.
All right, viewers. So, as you stated, my name, I'm RJ Dixon. I'm a doctor by profession. Born and bred in North Central Clarendon. I was born here. I grew up here. I mean, I traveled to Maypen for school, but, every evening I come back to North Central Clarendon. And that is the case now, even for work. I live here. I've been here my entire 31 years of life. In terms of my community, I've always been involved in my community because, my family has always been giving back in some way. So service is something I've always been exposed to. My mother, who used to work at the clinic, people used to just find her at her yard for her to help, dress the foot or dress something or provide some help. She's sending food to somebody down the road and I have to carry it. So I was exposed to all of that. My father's side of the family as well, the Dixon side, people can tell you everywhere you go, particularly in Chapelton area, which is where my family is originally from. They'll tell you what this family has done for them. And I learned a lot from that they have done. So I've been actively involved in community since childhood. Since I completed medical school in 2017, I continue to give back. I'm not
Tell us about that. Where did you go to medical school?
I studied medicine at the University of the West Indies. So I did that for 5 years at the University of the West Indies. And of course, I was involved in student leadership and involved in politics as well right there. So, I have been involved in politics for quite some time, learning the art of politics.
Campus politics too, right?
Campus politics. And also I worked with Andre Hilton, who was the MP for Eastern St. Andrew at the time. Where the university campus was in. So I learned a lot from him and his team.
So just go straight and tell us, how did you get into the PNP politics now?
All right. So as I said, I have been exposed to the politics for a pretty long time. Portia Simpson Miller really inspired me. Andre Hilton and Horace Daly were two other persons who really encouraged me and told me that, I need to take a greater level of involvement in the political landscape. At the time, Horace Daly was Member of Parliament for North Clarendon, and he has always found ways to involve me, even as a medical student. When anything is happening in the constituency, he'd invite me, and he's giving me the microphone to speak to the people. This is a young medical student. This is a young medical student, and he's a son of the soil, and I want him to talk to you. So, I became much more exposed through that. And, on the campus as well, I made mention of Andre Hilton, who he was a member of parliament. I learned the art of canvassing through his team because, there you're young, you don't even understand some of that, the background aspect of politics. You see the nice part on TV, the rallies and stuff. And I learned a lot of that from his team. I was out in the field in the sun hot on a Saturday morning with other youngsters from university, with some of the more experienced members of his team. And we were out there canvassing. And that progressed to me meeting Portia Simpson Miller and eventually becoming a part of her support team in the latter part of her political career. When she was opposition leader, traveled the island with her all over the place with her.
So you've been in the politics.
I've been there.
Let's go to your hometown now. So you grew up in North Central Clarendon.
Yes.
And we have a saying that if you drop off a bicycle on the road, buck your toe up on the play field, it means your blood is in the street of North Central Clarendon.
Yes.
So who you running against?
I'm running against the Nestor Morgan.
You're running against
Yes.
the minister
The
without
minister.
portfolio, minister of works.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm have whole heap of money I spend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How,
So on paper, I'll run against him, but you know the true thing that we run against in North Central Clarendon is the level of abject poverty, the lack of development, lack of roads, lack of water, the lack of investment in things like agriculture, and you know, lack of investment in skills training and skills training centers. So the truth is that while on paper you are up against another candidate, the true thing that we're running against is that lack of development that has become characteristic in North Central.
Doc, tell me something. Tell me something. You are from North Central, but
yes,
the people them know you, Doc.
Yeah, man.
I mean since politics, you know.
No.
Because since politics, you'd have made the rounds to ensure. Me I talk as a youth I grew up. The people in North Central, them know you like that.
And them know me. And them know me as that young bright boy who go Glenmere get a whole heap of C-Sec ones and stuff. My family is very popular in Chapelton as well. And I throughout my high school, I was right in the heart of Chapelton in the town. So everybody know the Dixons. The people knew me as well. And you know, even before now going to representative politics, the truth is that since I left medical school, I have completed with my team of doctors and healthcare workers over 7,000 free medicals over the past few years.
Where you work? Where your doctor office? You work at the hospital? Though, tell us about that.
I work at Maypen Hospital.
You work at Maypen Hospital. Then, Doc, you're not supposed to lose this, brother.
We have no intention of losing this. We're putting in the groundwork.
You see, we love that kind of politics here. From this are from the ground up, from the people, of the people, by the people, for the people.
Yes, and the people really respect that. So you made mention, you know, that it's against a Minister of Works, lot of resources at disposal, and the truth is that I am not daunted by that. The fact is that the majority of people in this constituency and many others, they do not vote, right? Which means that they are not for sale and they have not been for sale. So my aim is not to say compete with money. It's to find those people and reach out to them. And the truth is that we have been reaching them. We have been
give them a reason to vote.
Give them a reason to vote. And you know, many of them, they are fed up with, you know, hearing, you know, from politicians, political candidates time and again. But, you know, that hometown touch, you know, also gives me an advantage. I am meeting people. One gentleman, he registered for the first time. I didn't get his exact age, but he's over 50, right? Heading towards 60. And he registered for the first time to vote recently. Right?
No, you see that argument, Doc? Yes. I tell you, I know it. I know it. Because of you, I'm going to say, yo, here what, Doc? Me expect things from you. And we expect you to deliver.
Yeah.
For your place. You have a stake in this.
Yes. Yes, because the truth is that dealing with the issues here, you know, in addition to affecting the persons, the general constituency, they also affect me, right? So I have a vested interest.
You live their pain. You feel their pain when they feel it. So what you're bringing for them?
Because the truth is that whatever the issues are, they find me with it, and I face them myself. I spend over 20,000 every month buying water because there's no running water in the pipe. So the issues that they are facing out there.
And you mean you spend that at your yard for yourself? We're freezing up. Look like we're having some connection problem, but Portland Spice people, I love that interview. May I tell you? Doc, you back with us? Dr. Dixon?
Yes. Am I back online? Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now. Now I'm saying that $20,000 that you spend to buy water, you buy that for your yard.
To my yard.
Yeah. So the pain that they feel, you're feeling it. So what is it now you're bringing for them? What is the message to them now?
All right. So there are a number of things that we have to get addressed as a constituency. I mentioned one such issue, which you know I've been spending a lot of money on, is water, addressing the water problem once and for all. The truth is that the leadership in North Central Clarendon, which has been dominated by the Jamaica Labour Party for the past 23 years non-stop, you know, the last time the PNP won this seat was 1997, and then they lost in 2002, right? So they have dominated. There has been a lack of will to get
So
water.
hold on, Doc.
Yes.
How much years that under the GLP? From 1992?
No, I think they since 2002.
Oh, since 2002.
That's when the PNP lost the seat, 2002. So that's 23 years.
23 years them have it.
23 years unbroken. And all we have gotten in North Central Clarendon as concerning water are promises. Even though there has been a promise of water, one particular project that's supposed to take place in Rock River, all the people have had are promises. And if we go back to even say 2016, which it dates back to even further than that, 2016 it was promised, and credible allegations are there that pipes were laid and dug up, right? Subsequent to the election, right? We came back, a promise was made in 2019. At that time, I think the justing was between Charles Jr. and Morgan. Jr. was, associated with water at the time. And a promise was made then. We came back 2021, 22, and 23. Promises were made again about water. And we come all the way up to 2024. Major project announced for a project down in Rock River again. And nothing has been done. And again, we had it just the other day when they had a conference in Rock River. Promise again that this project will get underway with pipe laying in April, right? I believe that they might lay pipe this time since election is coming, but I want the people to also remember that they laid pipe already. And not right? So we need this project to come to complete fruition. We want water to be flowing in pipes because we're tired of not having water in our pipes. Certainly an issue as well concerning the road maintenance is that, well, road repair and maintenance, we hardly have proper roads here. And what is done is that we have recurrent patching work, and by the time you have a rainfall, it's gone. We understand that there is a need sometimes for that temporary fix. But the truth is that in the last 5 to 10 years, I have not seen a road repaired in North Central Clarendon that outside the one that was done by the PNP in 2016, completed 2017 when JP took power. We have not seen a road completed that can really stand the test of time. So certainly we need more permanent fixes. Even while you have to do temporary patching, we need more permanent fixes of roads. And I am happy that that is something that my party leader has made a pledge to focus on, looking at more of these interior roads and how we can bring about some permanent fixes to them. Just to run through some other things that we intend to focus on. Skills training. There's absolutely no skills training center in North Central Clarendon. But we do have a number of community centers, even though some have been allowed to run down, right? What we want to do is to ensure that these community centers are put to good use. And the fact is that beyond the community centers, the schools close at 3 o'clock. So if you have an area that there's adequate take-up of a particular skill and we can reach the persons from hard to come in, you can deliver it in those schools. Between 3 o'clock and the next morning at 8 o'clock, they are closed. We can deliver after-school programs there. Right? In addition to ensuring that our community centers are used. Just the other day, I was speaking to a welder as I was out campaigning, and he has put forward to the political directorate on multiple times that he is willing to be a trainer. He has his certification, multiple certification, including international certification. He has worked with some of the big companies in this country, and he is ready to use his skills to train persons in that area and get them certified. The political directorate, they have a lack of will. So they have not engaged this gentleman and others in the constituency like him who are willing to do some on-the-job training as well and have youngsters certified. But the thing is that it doesn't really affect the political directorate here because they don't live here.
They don't see
they
it.
Don't live here. They don't see it.
They don't come. They are not there every day to see the youth. Them and them don't know the youth. Them neither.
They don't know them. They don't understand them. Right? I am the one that is on the corner with them. So many times per week. It's not just coming in for an office day. It's literally my lived experience. And that's
when you go home, you stop. When you go home, you stop on an ends and check on your way home.
On the way home.
On your way to work, you can stop and talk to two people. I can stop and talk because you are, as we say, your blood in the street.
Right here. Right? So we have to look at how we can address those. And I mentioned to you a major thing that needs to be sorted out in North Central Clarendon. And again, I am getting some good signals from the spokesperson agriculture regarding that. We're a farming constituency,
Yeah.
predominantly farming constituency. We're one of the biggest constituencies, and most of it is literally just land, open land. Some of it being government
Land ready for farming.
land ready for farming.
Arable
Some
lands.
government land, some being private land. But certainly, I believe that the government land, we need to get more of that into the hands of our farmers, right?
Yes.
And where there's an adequate take-up from your local farmers, you have investors, maybe somebody from another constituency was a big farm who wants to invest. But certainly, the aim is to firstly have some of that getting into the hand of our farmers here. And my aim and plan, viewers, is that once I become successful at the polls, what we want to do is not just provide support at one step of the process. It's to provide support to our farmers from land preparation, right? Land preparation, ensuring that they have the relevant training and registration with RADA, that you're planting the right things in the right places at the right time.
That is what I call organized farming, and that's something that Jamaica is missing. We do not organize our farmers. We do not give them information on what to plant, when, and how much at what time. And that's why we end up with the drought and the glut.
Yes, exactly.
We have not been able to catch the balance.
Yes. So the truth, Colin, is that we want to establish our farmers, organize our farmers, and then when we organize them, we can provide the support with also getting their goods to market into the different sectors. The truth is that the lack of organization in many regards has been stifling the potential agricultural growth in North Central Clarendon, which I believe is to the tune of billions, right? But the lack of this organization, and the truth is that as persons who are interested in representation, we have to partner with them as well to help them become more organized in this regard, so that they're producing the right things at the right time in the right quantity, and then we can now help get that into the market. On the matter of agriculture, there's something that Damien was ridiculed for, which we intend to bring here to North Central Clarendon.
The people who ridicule Damien, they are now doing it,
Yeah, man. So a number of youngsters have been reaching out, concerning this same project. I mean, it was popularized by Damien, and it's something we intend to bring here to North Central Clarendon under my leadership, where we have a revolving livestock project that livestock farmers here can truly benefit from. That they can get their goats to start rearing, right? And we're not just going to start them off and leave them. It is to ensure that they're trained. Training for me is very important. As a medical doctor, we have to train and retrain. So we want you to know what the best practices are, so that you get maximum out of anything you're doing, whether it's livestock farming or whether it's crops that you're planting. We want you to get the best yield possible, right? So that's also an area of focus. And once we can get agriculture to the level that it needs to be in North Central Clarendon, the plan is to look at value added coming out.
Talk to me.
Right? Because as I said, that we have the land here, right? We have the potential to have a multi-billion-dollar agricultural economy here in North Central Clarendon. Because the truth is that there's no building an agricultural constituency without an intense focus on agriculture.
You must, and the government must also step in and subsidize this or find the money to this. One of the problems I have, Dr. Dixon, I see this government, this present administration, just dashed for $11.4 billion, squandered $11.4 billion. That money should be going into what you're talking about. Organizing our farmers. We stop importing any kind of chicken meat. We stop importing goat meat. Stop importing pork. All of them something that we can grow that ourselves.
Yes. And what I'm saying is that I understand if you cannot meet the demand, but I don't see that concerted effort to push towards meeting the local demand. It's more of allowing our farmers and to fall short, instead of organizing and supporting them, allow them to fall short, to then say you need to bring in all of these things into the country. But we're going to work with our farmers, organize them. We're happy with this multi-billion-dollar industry. And North Central Clarendon, when you generally when we speak about farming and feeding the country, one of the first places we think about is St. Elizabeth. I'm going to tell you that my constituency is going to become a model where agriculture is concerned, and people are going to talk about this part of Clarendon when they speak about agriculture and farming and feeding the nation, because we're gonna aim to feed the nation.
The people them down there want to farm?
To export. Pardon me?
The people them down there want to farm?
Yes. It's not everybody that's interested, which we understand.
We have enough people.
The truth about it, Colin, is that I think more people will be interested as well when we deal more with mechanization.
And you have a lot of level lands down there, don't you?
Yeah, we have areas at our level. We have a lot of hilly terrain, to be honest, right? We have a lot of hilly terrain, but we do have level areas as well.
That you can mechanize the farming.
Yes. So certainly we have to mechanize the farming, and persons will become so much more interested in it as well. When they recognize that, hey, there are aspects of farming where you can be touching buttons to address the humidity and the temperature and stuff, and you don't have to necessarily be there in the physical environment, with all the manual labor. I think the lack of appeal really comes from that belief that you just have to just go in there and you dig from morning till night.
Yeah.
But we have to expose more for farmers to mechanization. A lot of our farmers aren't. Some of it is affordability issues. Some of it also is from the government supporting them, right? For example, you have RADA. Somebody wants to access a RADA tractor. You have one tractor that broke down half the time or unavailable. So here you are. Just the other day, a farmer, a lady, hardworking farmer, she contacted me. She said, "Doctor, I have to end up just going and using the regular means of tilling the soil myself because I didn't want to miss the timelines that I had for my products to be ready."
This government not interested in agriculture. After we got into COVID, I thought that was the perfect time to get our people to start producing food for this nation, and we made no attempt. Burial come, and we said the damage was what, about $10 billion, and we took up $11.4 billion and give people 20,000. What kind of madness is that?
And on the matter of burial, the truth is that so many of our farmers needed support and did not get it post-burial.
That's why I bring it up
about the figures, because I personally spoke with farmers, collected their details, sent it into whichever authority they say is going to assist with getting help. And nothing came to them. The entire burial relief became a political circus. So sometimes when people see me and say, "Doctor, I had given you my details or sent in the details," I have to let them know that guess what? Whatever was relayed to me, I sent it off to the authorities who were supposed to, be in touch with, be it the farmers or somebody who had damage. But it became a political circus, and everything for burial became something running through, a particular members of parliament. And the next thing is that nothing goes through even the councillors, right? The councillors are basically neutered, right? So we want things in this country to be reaching the right people who need to have those benefits. So many of those farmers who are still reeling from the effects of burial, who submitted their details, got in touch with RADA, got in touch with Ministry of Labour, whichever entity they said could help, and nothing happened.
And nothing come. And there's a question on the screen, Doc. I don't know if you're seeing the question on the screen.
I'm not seeing the...
You're not seeing it? Freedom is saying, Doc, please speak to the elders as to how the byproduct from the animal can be used as fertilizers. I don't know if it's something that you know about.
I mean, not in full detail, but I have been exposed to the farming, so I know that persons have been using like the chicken or cow feces. I've seen that being used during my mother is a farmer, so I have seen all of that being used. In terms of again, what I say is that when it comes on to the farming, we want to engage the experts, because the area that you can use that, I have also had stories that some areas you can use such byproducts and other areas it's not recommended, or for some crops you can use it and for others it's not recommended. So we want to engage the experts, which is something that needs to be coming from even a RADA, right? Engaging all these experts so that our farmers are exposed to them, be it the persons who are going to do soil testing. Is this soil too acidic? Is it too alkaline? Is it good for this product? Is it not good for this product, right? Instead of having our farmers trying over and over again with a crop that probably will never have a good yield from a particular soil. So I am not here to be the expert of everything. I am here to also engage the experts,
Yes.
right, through the relevant agricultural authorities so that our farmers can maximize their yield from their farming ultimately, right, and impact the entire constituency. If a farmer it starts making $1 million instead of $100,000 from his struggling farm, that can impact the entire constituency. His daughter will be able to go to school. He'll be able to afford university, right? He'll be able to build a house. He'll be able to buy a piece of land, and that can be used as collateral. I am about putting power in the hands of the people. I'm not the typical politician who want to centralize power and everything is me. I want the people to be so organized and empowered that they can be independent in what they do, whether it be farming, whether it be any other industry in North Central Clarendon or anywhere in the country that they apply their trade.
My brother, you talk about farming, you talk about there's a water issue. But before I let you go, because we're going to keep our eyes on that constituency.
Mhm.
I mean, I recognize with you as the homegrown boy, grew up in the town there, live there, know the people and the people them know you. And I'm hoping that the people them just give you the love and give you an opportunity as a man who feel their pain to really solve our problem.
Yes.
Because it's not their problem. It's our problem.
Because I feel the same issues.
You live there. You understand? And my brother, we don't know when the election is. Are you ready?
We are ready for whenever it is called.
You are ready?
Yes.
And for me, ready means when you have all of what you have.
You always continue fine-tuning. You're always continue fine-tuning.
Yes,
right?
but you're ready.
We're getting there. We're getting there, right? We're fine-tuning what needs to be fine-tuned. But whenever it's called, we intend to bring the seat home for the People's National Party. That is the intent. That's what we're working towards. That's why we continue to have our meetings. That's why we continue to have our walks in engaging our voters, right?
I say beat and teach in the chat room. And beat and teach is saying that, how could you call in? The man is a medical doctor. What about healthcare in your constituency?
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, man. So the truth is that what I want to bring about concerning healthcare is more, I'm going to speak about the personal aspect that, I want to look at. It's the more personalized healthcare. Just last weekend, we did, a senior citizen street. And an aspect of that was medicals, letting people know what their blood pressure reading is, their blood sugar readings are. And the truth is that we do have a serious problem with chronic diseases in this country, because over 3 days last weekend, I think the majority of persons, or majority of persons that we tested either had elevated blood sugar or high blood pressure, right? Mark you, we don't diagnose just from that one reading, but certainly that one reading is a cause for concern, and persons were referred for follow-up coming out of that. So we need to localize more of those local health clinics need to happen, where yes, we have the established buildings, hospitals or clinics, but we have to look at now how we have more community clinics that doctors are going out into the field on particular days to literally do these basic checks, be it via mobile clinic or be it engagement of a church or a school, for example, to do those community visits, so you can bring healthcare to them, right? And from there, of course, you might have the necessary follow-up where they will now come to you, but at least you'll get them to understand that hey, there's a problem, and you will have to come to us to help deal with those problems. But certainly we have health centers here in North Central Clarendon, which do need to undergo significant upgrade. One of them that underwent some upgrade thanks to a generous donation from Beverly Nichols, who originated from North Central Clarendon. She donated $1 million US, which impacted Chapeltown Community Hospital, right? But what needs to happen, and in general in the health sector, is that there's a need for way more staff. The truth is that we have to spread.
Doc, you bring me right into my next question.
Mm-hmm.
There's a regional issue now,
mm-hmm.
where the United States is calling us is saying that we are doing human trafficking and forced labor with our nurses and our doctors coming out of Cuba. And here you are talking about more staff, and I am looking at it and thinking that you mean more doctors, more nurse, more specialists.
Every level. The truth is that at every level.
What would happen to Jamaica if our leaders decide to stop that Cuban arrangement?
I do hope it doesn't come to that, because our system is really held up by a lot of workers who are foreigners, and particular Cubans. A lot of Cuban nurses, Cuban doctors, etc. in the system. More so, a lot of Cuban nurses, and you know, we have specialist doctors as well in the system. And what the Jamaica healthcare system needs right now is not to be losing staff. It's to be retaining staff and getting in additional staff. So, you know, my hope is that this thing can be properly negotiated, that we can have discussions, because I understand whatever implications that there are in foreign policy, etc. But the truth is that we have to sit down and have discussions to ensure that we don't lose our health staff because of this.
You are 31.
Yes.
But I'm sure you are well read.
Yes.
So you would know what happened in the 70s coming up into the 80s.
Absolutely.
Are we looking at a similar situation?
I hope not.
and even though Michael Manley took a strong position, the country was burnt for it.
Yes.
And in fact, just going to that, Jeffrey Tavares called me just as I started the program.
Yes.
And he was telling me about some release from the CIA that is now coming out based on what happened back then in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know? But we need the Cuban doctors.
Yeah.
And
we also need to retain our local doctors.
And nurses.
Our doctors and nurses. Well, as I said, right across the health sector, there's need for improved staff. And also there's a matter that's particularly passionate to me. You know, it's some of the allied workers that we do need in healthcare. My area of focus is pediatrics. I have not gone on to do the specialist study, but you know, I work in pediatrics. That's my area. Okay. And a part of the challenge that we have, and it's something that I've discussed with the party leader as well, is that when it comes on to special needs children, that we have a serious issue where they are concerned and getting the adjunct therapy that's necessary. So you might have a child, for example, that has autism, for example, who needs to access, speech and language therapy, behavioral therapy, for example. We don't have enough of those available in this country. One of the programs that is supposed to assist children with special needs is the early stimulation program, which comes out of the Ministry of Labor, and it's significantly underfunded, right? You find that persons have to wait months to years to get onto that program. And as I'm saying, these things are time sensitive. You cannot have somebody that has a particular challenge, whether it be behavioral, speech and language, etc., and you're waiting a year to get a follow-up. The next thing is that the accessibility. I believe that the offices are either in Kingston or Montego Bay, right? I think there are 3 such offices. So for somebody coming from the hills of Clarendon, for example, who are already having challenges, financially, and additional challenges because of whatever special need their child has, to have to travel all the way into Kingston, that is burdensome. So we have to expand that particular program, and I believe a new aspect needs to come out to it, where the government must sponsor through scholarships the training of speech and language therapists, and we also need to get more social workers into the system. So we have to look at those 3 particular areas to ensure that we can tackle some of the issues facing our children with special needs. Because the truth is that not all of them will become fully functional or fully integrated in society, but many persons with special needs who can become fully integrated don't become fully integrated because the systems that are supposed to be in place to help them have failed them. So in looking at health, I'm not even just looking at health in terms of hospitals and clinics. I am looking at these additional services that are necessary for special needs, for example. I share just one area, in terms of adult
Dr. Dixon. My next guest is in the studio.
Yes.
And as I said, we are going to keep an eye on your constituency. Yes. I find it very touching to me and my beliefs that, where you are from and what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we basically when keep in touch with you.
Yeah, man.
And wish you all the best. We have our next guest that we had given some time scheduled.
Yeah, man.
And he's also in time, but the program is open to you, my brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
you
man.
know
So
where to find me. Just call me. We are going to be talking.
Yes.
We want to hear more about your constituency.
All right.
Comrade Dixon. And just heal up Comrade Julian before you leave.
Thank you so much.
Big up.
Comrade
RJ, big up yourself. And
big up.
as we say, we're looking for good things from you, from that constituency. You're putting in the work. You're a son of the soil. And we know you can carry through for the PMP. So continue in person and doing the work.
And you can count on me. We will bring home this seat. An excellent presentation the other day, as I told you. Right. You know, I really enjoyed that.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Doc. Bless up yourself. We'll chat.
All right.
Morning, Comrade Robinson.
Morning, Shaka for you, man. Good to be with you.
What a presentation on Tuesday, and happy to have been in the house to see it.
No, on Thursday. Don't mix me up with the Tuesday one.
Well, there's a Tuesday to come in. Is the Tuesday to come? I am thinking
yes, and
about.
Then we have this Tuesday.
Not the one we got.
The leader. Yeah, when the leader speaks. Yes.
Yes, that is a Tuesday that is on my mind, not the one that has passed. Yeah, man, it was a solid presentation. I mean, you are now a veteran at this, yes, but you said this is the last one on that side. The next one will be on the other side. Julian, a number of things came out of the presentation. But there's a comment that I want to go to first which shocked me. A comment that says it is going to drive up the interest rate. I want you to listen to this, Julian. Listen to this.
Good morning, Mr. Falcon. Good morning.
Thank you so very much for joining us as always on the morning agenda on Power 106 FM. Mr. Faulkner, I will start with you for an economic breakdown of what the opposition has presented, your own assessment of their plans.
So the main thing I think that came out yesterday was the proposed plan to spread out government deposits across the commercial banking system, because currently most of it would be concentrated within two institutions, the two largest institutions. Now, I think that proposal is well-intentioned. Anything that is geared towards increasing competition within the banking system is always a good thing. However, I also think that if you were to now open it up to competition, then the institutions that can offer the highest rate would know, the money is going to flow to the institutions that can offer the higher rate. And then because in an attempt to outbid each other, then it might have an upward movement on interest rates, which is the opposite of what would have been proposed. But on the point of the asset tax, I think that will now be written.
All right, so I want to stop it there because that's the part that is baffling. I am baffled about. Do you understand what he's saying?
I hear him, but let me explain. I think it's important first to understand what takes place now and what we're proposing.
Yes.
So right now, the government, through all the ministries, agencies, and departments, account for just about 10% of all deposits in the commercial banks. And they're called formally deposit-taking institutions, and we have 11 of those in the country. Historically, for a number of reasons, based on their network, the size of their network, these deposits have been automatically placed in the two large banks, BNS and NCB, and that accounts for probably 20 to 80% of the entire deposits that government holds. What that does for those banks, it gives them access to what I would call relatively low-cost funds, which supports their money. And this is done now without any process, without any system. For historical reasons, the government just says these are the two institutions you must put your money in. Now, what that means for the other institutions is that they don't have access to those funds to be able to on-lend. Now, the way banking works, you lend what you get in as deposits, right?
Yes.
So if you start with a base of low-cost funds, it gives those two banks, you are reinforcing what you call the duopoly, where the two big banks dominate. What we
Yes.
are saying is we will put in place a system which will allow all 11 banks to be able to participate and get some of those deposits.
Of
So
course.
what it means for a smaller bank is, for example, if they can, now let me just give an idea in terms of figures we're talking about. It's $160 billion roughly that is held by government ministries, agencies, and departments that are in deposits in the banking sector. Now, some of these deposits are what you call demand deposits. You need to pay wages, your bills, etc. So those deposits would not necessarily be the ones that you would be opening up to competition, right?
Right.
But then people have longer term deposits. So what we're saying is we will put in place a system which will allow all 11, if they choose to be able to participate. And you would have an auction system where they can compete for the deposits. If you have more deposits going to the other 9 deposit taking institutions, it lowers the cost of funds for them and it gives them more money to on-lend at a lower cost. If they're able to start bringing down their rates, it will allow the market to bring down the rates.
Exactly.
Currently, the main issue we have right now why interest rates are not moving is that if the two big banks don't determine that they're going to move interest rates, none of the others can because they control so much of the market.
So they set the pace.
They set the pace. And
so
what
hold
we're
on now,
saying,
Julian. Hold on now. This system where you come with, if the bank a juggle for the money and decide that them are going to bring up interest, isn't the interest on the deposit so the government will also benefit?
I mean, government would benefit, but generally, I mean, if you're paying more for deposits, you'll pass it on. But the reality is that they're already, remember, you know, it's not free money right now, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have to provide, however small, some return on those deposits, but it's not large because, you know, the savings rates in banks are very low. So it's not that they're getting the money for free right now. So that's probably also a misconception.
Right.
But what we're saying is we are going to open it up to competition so that more
banks can get out of
participate. It. And what you're doing is you're trying to make the banking sector more competitive that way, reduce the stranglehold that the two largest banks have on the sector, and give some of what you might call the smaller players an opportunity to participate. So I don't share this view that somehow you're going to drive up interest rates. This is not, by the way, a unique system to Jamaica. If you're in Canada, they employ a similar system because their banking system tends to be concentrated like ours, right? Very similar in terms of the makeup of the banks there. So, you know, and studies have been done which have shown that moving to a system like this increases competition, brings rates down over the medium to long term. Now, I understand, you know, this is a new system. So I expect resistance, right? And I expect people who may not want it to happen to not be in favor of it. But I'm very
and surprised that you come with such a good idea because them bad mind too.
Well, I'm not even going, you know, I'm not even going.
You're not saying that. I am saying that. You don't say that. You let
but let me tell you why this is important, right? Businesses can't grow if interest rates are high. You want to borrow money to be able to expand your business. You can't expand your business if you're paying double-digit interest rates. So what we're trying to do is bring down those rates so that you can have competitive rates, you can expand and grow your business, and the banks can ultimately play a role in the growth of the economy. Now, what is happening now? Even when every other sector of the economy has been contracting, the banks continue to grow. Now, there's something wrong with that. Banks should grow based on how the economy is doing. But what we have seen is that the banks are growing in spite of the economy. So what that means
out of the 12 financials, the sectors that drives the economy, 11 decline in the 2 last quarters.
Right,
only the banks grow by 1%. Julian, here's another one that them bad mind in you for. And me I said that. The Prime Minister run out and him say you can't give flat rate to pensioners. before you come in, Julian, I am saying to the people of Jamaica and the people in the diaspora who are watching this morning, is bad mind take the prime minister. Him say him like it. Julian, talk to us about it.
But maybe because it never come from him. So let me explain.
That's why me I tell us a bad mind, brother.
let me explain how it would work so people understand. So the basis on which we would determine a flat rate is to look at your historic consumption over, let's say, the last 2 to 3 years, right? And you would probably do an average based on that. So let's just using a round figure for simplicity. So let's say when we work out that average over the last 2 to 3 years, it might be $4,000 or $5,000 a month. So we would set a rate based on that. Now, for example, if we notice that after we set the flat rate, you are using $10,000, $15,000 worth, there's a rider. The first rider is you may have a leak, because that is the biggest source of electricity bills going up. And in many cases,
water bills.
Water bills, sorry, water,
yeah.
My apologies. You don't know that you have the leak. It could be
you have an underground leak and you don't know.
And you don't know. Because let's deal with the reality of water. People are not just going to turn on them pipe and leave it on just so. I mean, that's not practical, right? So if we notice a spike in your consumption, the first thing we're going to do you have a leak? If you determine that it is a leak, then you have to address the leak. But let's say some people want to abuse this thing, and I don't know, I hear the Prime Minister say bring family and friends and whatever. I mean, I'm not sure how practical that is, because I don't know that my relatives going to leave their house to come to my house to bathe.
Because you're getting a flat rate for water.
Yeah, I don't, or maybe I'm just going to give my neighbor water. I don't know, but
all of a sudden you're going to open a car wash.
Or you own a car wash. I don't know how practical that is. But let's say we notice that consistently your consumption has all of a sudden gone up. So it was averaging 5,000 for the last 2-3 years, and now you start consuming 15,000. Then we're going to take you off the program.
Right. So you keep a look
the program
at the average.
Doesn't come with an unlimited. Yeah, we're going to work with the average, and we set the flat rate because we know pensioners. I remember we're talking about pensioners. They have fixed incomes.
Yes.
Most of them are not working. Their pension doesn't move significantly.
How
with the cost
do you
of living. So we are saying to them, we will give you that rate. So every month you know that what you have to deal with for the water rate is $4,000 or $3,000. And then you have the rest of money to buy your groceries and pay your medication and whatever. But we will build in it something to prevent abuse if people want to go out there and all of a sudden start to double their consumption. So it can work. And I was very surprised that the Prime Minister came out so quickly to try and say it can't work. It can work. We have thought it very well.
Mine are something you take off from him, Mine him had it. I remember that look on it because he said he liked it.
Maybe
he said it sounds good.
Next week Thursday in his budget presentation.
That's what I say, because him say it sound good and then him say it can't work.
Maybe he was planning to say it.
Or something similar. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying it sounds like bad mind to me. But Julian, you focused on growth. Why so? Yeah. Why you were so driving that punchline of growth? Explain to my listeners.
Let me tell you why. If you don't grow the economy, you can't earn the revenues to deliver the quality of life that the Jamaican people want. So everybody accepts. Well, we accept that we need to reform our education system. We need better public health services. We need better transportation. We need to ensure that we can take care of the most needy and the most vulnerable. But the only sustainable way to do that is to grow the economy. And what we have seen over 9 years, in spite of the COVID interruption, in spite of Beryl, is that growth has been flat. The first 4 years of this administration, before COVID, growth averaged less than 2%, 1.25%.
You sure it was 5%?
No, they promised 5 in 4.
That's what I remember.
They promised 5 in 4, but what they got on average for 4 years is 1.25% per annum.
Not even 2.5, Julia, not even half of the promise?
No. And that's why I went through it, because there's this perception that somehow the economy was doing that great. It hasn't been, right? So you had only 1% growth up to COVID. When you had a steep fall, recovered strongly. Recovery in COVID, the economy then went back down to the 1 to 2% growth rate. So after COVID, coming into 2022, 2023, and leading up to Hurricane Beryl, there was decent
10 quarters of it.
growth, still positive. So in the last half year for Beryl, the economy grew by only 0.1%. In the quarter before Beryl, the economy grew by 0.2%. So what you would see, and I use the graph, you would see a gradual downward trend in growth in the economy. And frankly, my own view is that whether Beryl came or not, we would have been in negative growth. So we had Beryl, which impacted us. It also impacted other Caribbean countries.
Yeah.
Other Caribbean countries have recovered from Beryl and have posted positive growth.
That's the argument. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, those countries were hit harder than us, weren't they?
And they have posted stronger recovery. So the reality that we're saying, yes, we had Beryl, nobody can dispute that, and it impacted us. But the fundamentals of the economy are also not very strong.
But hold on, Julian. Based on what happened after Beryl, isn't it true then that our economy is not resilient?
Well, not as resilient as it could be, right? I wouldn't say not resilient at all. The government had put in place some hurricane insurance, which assisted. But in terms of the level of resistance, not as resilient. And part of it is that we have not made the investments in infrastructure in the way that we needed to, quite frankly. And so the infrastructure got a battering, which we still haven't fully recovered from. So part of the challenge is it's not as resilient as it should be. And as
they are trying to make it out to be.
Or they're trying to make it out to be. So the level of recovery that, frankly, other countries have enjoyed, we haven't been able to enjoy it. We don't know what the first quarter of 2025 will show. I mean, all of us want recovery, and we hope that we will.
But what have you been hearing?
I mean, January, some of the businesses have been saying that they are seeing good numbers coming back up. So it's hard to predict, but I'm just saying, we are in an economic slump.
But we're close to the end of the first quarter now.
Yeah, because the first quarter ends March 31st. We have about 15 more days.
Right.
So I don't know what those numbers will look like. We won't know until probably about May, because it takes about a month to calculate the data. So the reality is that we don't even know whether after these two quarters, what this quarter is going to look like.
Julian, you spoke about JUTC, and you went back to 2016 when we were carrying, you said 62 million people.
62 million passengers, right.
Down to 18 million, so we are down to about 25. You said 30% of what we used to do.
Yeah.
Now, what really shocked me about that, and this is one of the main things I want to talk to you about this morning. I don't know if you misspoke or you're sure about what you said. But what I heard you said, and I heard Michael Phillips in the background echo it, that even though we are down to 30%, less than 200 buses from 450 buses, carrying 18 million passengers, down from 62 million, you are saying that the wage bill is still the same?
Correct.
No, Julian.
Yeah. But it came out in Standing Finance Committee.
Julian, that has been on my mind. I mean, I said, one thing I'm going to ask you this morning is this.
It's not just the wage bill, the spare parts bill. The expenses have not fallen.
I think you also said the oil bill.
Yes. The expenses have not fallen commensurate with the level of buses that are being rolled out.
No, but Julian, no, man, stop. Let me just brace a little bit and really get this. You had 450 buses in 2016 carrying Is it because the money lose the power? So you're paying a driver more. So
No.
it end up.
That's not the reason. The reality is that JUTC, it is bloated. There's a need to rationalize it.
You broke up a while ago, Julian. We didn't hear what you said. So please repeat.
No. What the point I'm making is that the problem with JUTC is that the JUTC is bloated in terms of the size of the company, the number of persons who are working there, and the level of efficiency. So there's no way that you should be having the same expenses when you're running at less than 30% of your capacity. And unfortunately, that is what is happening with the JUTC right now.
No, Julian. But this
so
can't.
this didn't.
When
this,
you know this,
I mean, I was trying to find. This came out of Standing Finance Committee. I'm trying to find an article where Michael Phillips asked the minister about the $1.8 billion expenses, and the minister said he would have to check and come back to us because he himself couldn't provide an explanation. I just trying to find it online. This would have been last week at Standing Finance Committee.
So while Daryl Vaz was.
So even though the JUTC. All right, I'm going to find in the I don't think I can share screen here. All right.
No, but we are going
to
find
says
it.
VAS to seek clarity on projected 1.8 billion increase in JUTC staff costs.
1.8 billion increase
on
in
Friday. Michael Phillips used a meeting of parliament. Yeah. Now listen. Phillips used a meeting of Parliament Standing Finance Committee to demand an explanation from Minister Vaz for the sharp increase. Right? In response, Mr. Vaz said that JUTC will see an increase of 240 workers across the board, blah, blah, blah. Then he said that, this is Phillips, I don't think there was any mass redundancy at JUTC, especially to do with drivers, and you have been having less and less bus rollout. So to be employing an additional 200 plus, is it because of redundancies? Why are we taking on more drivers when you're still having a low rollout of buses? And increasing the payroll by an additional 1.8 billion, right? So the point here is that their expenses are increasing, even though they're running at 30% of capacity.
So aren't you calling for the Auditor General to step in and isn't this enough for the Auditor General to step in now and tell us what is happening there?
You know, the Auditor General has done reports on JUTC. She has raised a number of issues, made recommendations. Where we are right now, it needs new leadership, it needs new management, it needs a new direction. It's not just about buying new buses, but it's also about ensuring that the entity operates efficiently, and it is clearly not operating efficiently right now as it stands. Definitely.
But this, Julian, this is disturbing. This is disturbing. You're operating at 30% of the maximum capacity you have ever gotten to. And you still have the same expense? That can't be.
Your expenses are rising. It's not just the same. The expenses are rising.
Your expense should be down. Your expense should be down by a minimum of 50%.
Your expense should be commensurate with what you're rolling out. So the question is, what are all of those people who are employed doing? We don't know. And why are your expenses running so high? Now, the reality, JUTC will always run as a subsidized entity. But you can't, the level of subsidy, you have to remember if you are using a higher level of subsidy for JUTC, it prevents you from using that money in other areas of the economy.
Oh, yes.
And supporting other businesses, right?
It's
very important for, even though it will always run at a loss, that you minimize those losses so that the government subsidy doesn't have to be as large.
I don't know, but when you look at this, corruption start coming in your mind? Any
That's a very, in my view, very strong consideration as to why the entity operates the way it does. Look at it. It requires significant review. And let me explain. You know, people might spend time on this, and people might not understand why.
Some of them did say, so what? Somebody did say, so what?
No, the opposition leader on Tuesday will speak more about rural transportation because he has a plan to deal with rural transportation. And the reality is that spreading out the JUTC into the other urban centers is important because people want, one, a safe way to travel, because we do know the alternatives are not always safe, and a comfortable way. Now, how is this impacting the economy? If a country is not able to move people from home to work and back, from home to school and back in an efficient way, that country is always going to struggle to grow its economy. And right now, Jamaica has a suboptimal transportation system. That's the only way I can put it. And so we are committed to bringing it back because it impacts your cost of living because the JUTC is subsidized. And so people don't have to pay the higher fares in taxes or coasters.
Exactly.
It improves your productivity because the more buses you have on the road is the shorter people have to wait to get a bus. I mean, I can tell you, people, it takes 3 hours for people to get from Spanish Town and Portmore to Kingston. Because
3 hours.
Because of the length of time they have to wait on a bus.
And then 2, when the bus come, the kind of traffic, the traffic gridlock that you have in Kingston
right.
now.
So when you're giving a break to new car dealers to bring in more cars at a cheaper rate, well, it may not be cheaper, at a less cost to them, whether they passed on or not, and you're not even looking at your public transportation system, the question must be, where are your priorities as a government?
But Julian,
where
are they realizing that the more cars you have on the streets in Kingston, it is the longer it's going to take you to get anywhere?
Absolutely.
And that's why major cities around the world, governments subsidize the transportation system so you can have less traffic, so you can move around the city faster.
Correct.
You can't build new roads in the city every day.
Correct. So when they were saying, so what? They don't get it.
No, but
they don't understand it.
It shows that they are not in touch with what is happening in Jamaica. Hence, we can pay down $72,000 on a Pro Box.
On a Pro Box. So they don't understand the plight of the average Jamaican who can't afford a car, who has to take public transportation. And so
and for those people who only drive, you have some people who only drive in a Julian because the public transportation is not efficient. If the public transportation was efficient, correct, a lot of people wouldn't drive.
They wouldn't have to drive. That's the point. So when they respond and say, well, more people have car, that's not a good thing necessarily. I mean, obviously, if you can afford it, you want to. But for women, public transportation is dangerous, right? And so I know for many women, the first thing they can do if they can afford it is to buy a car because they don't want to be subject to, if they have to come home late at work, and, you know, we have had issues there. But Colin, I'm a little pressed for time, and I want to go to my.
I know, but two things before you go. Before you go. The crawl report.
No, not leaving us. Yeah.
Huh?
Go ahead.
The crawl report. You call for that. Why so?
Because listen, we had a massive fraud at SSL. Usain Bolt is the person that most people have known who lost somewhere in the region of $12 million US. But there are a lot more. There are hundreds of Jamaicans, a lot less known than Usain Bolt, who also lost significant money there.
Mm-hmm.
They want answers. They haven't heard anything. One person has been arrested, only one person, in what is a major crime. And really, we are saying the government said they were getting forensic accountants from the UK, crawl. Why can't that report be published? Now, the answer you might get is, oh, there is a criminal investigation and blah, blah, blah. Generally, what you can do is you can redact information which is pertinent to the criminal investigation, because obviously if something is going to be placed in the court of law, you can't release that. So what is pertinent to the criminal investigation, you redact that information and you release the report so that Jamaican people can know what has happened to this money in SSL. As I said, I have a constituent, 78-year-old lady, who saved her money. She taught her entire life, and now she wants her money, and she can't get her money, and she can't get any answers. And quite frankly, it's just an unacceptable situation.
As the finance minister in waiting, does the government, the country, have a responsibility to ensure that these people get back their money, or the government now have no business letting our part with it?
The government's responsibility. I'm not saying the government must find the money and pay them back. No, I'm not saying that. But there are questions to be asked about the role of the Financial Services Commission, because this was a regulated entity. There were restrictions placed on the entity. Why those restrictions were lifted, when they were lifted, what informed those decisions. When the board acted, we know that a chairman who was appointed in 2016 under the JLP resigned only after a year because he had differences with the Minister of Finance as to how this particular entity should be treated.
Mm-hmm.
So those are very legitimate questions to be asked of the government, because the government, through the Financial Services Commission, had a regulatory responsibility, had data on FSC, knew what was happening, and there should be questions answered about why they acted the way they did.
So those are questions that the government must answer. Before you go, Julian, you spoke about the culture and the creative industry.
Yeah, man, I want to go through my 4 E's. That's what I said I wanted to do.
You want, okay.
Let me start with, yeah, man. Yes, that's what I was saying. Yeah, man.
Okay, go right ahead.
Let me start with, yeah, man. Let me start with education. What we're saying is that we can't continue to tinker with the education system. We have to reform it. And the reform has to be focused at the early childhood and primary levels. We have to ensure that when children leave basic and primary school, they can read and write. They're literate, numerate, and they can do something. They're arithmetic, right? The interventions now being done by the government tend to be later on in the system. They introduce a pathway system, which is at the end of high school.
For those who can make it to fifth form.
When you have scarce resources, you have to deploy the resources.
You're breaking up again, Julian. Maybe having a little.
Right. Now, what we are saying is, you have to deploy the resources in the most effective way. I'm not sure my internet. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like
what
it's
I'm
dropping.
saying is that you have to deploy your resources in the most effective way. I'm not sure why, because
your internet dropping.
My internet is going in and out. You can hear
dropping
me now?
A little bit.
You hear me
yeah,
better?
man, I'm hearing you now. Just ask anybody in the household who using Wi-Fi. Just
I'm not sure why. I'm on my.
If anybody around you using Wi-Fi, just ask them to
from one of the two big providers, and so I'm not sure why.
Yeah, man. Sometimes them slow down. Sometimes we're not at that place yet where we have that stable internet everywhere. Even in Kingston, it slow down sometimes. Let's see now. You're looking a little bit better. Go ahead.
You're looking better. All right. So I'm saying for education, the interventions have to be focused in the areas where the problems are. The problems are too many students are leaving primary school and they can't read and write. And so you end up sending them into high schools and you're just trying to do remedial action. We are saying fix the problem early. Do the interventions early so that every single child leaves high school literate and numerate. We have to review automatic advancement in grades. It don't make sense sending children through simply because they need to go into a new grade when they can't read and write. Nobody benefits. In fact, it hurts the child because the child is always going to be catching up. So that's education. And we've also made a commitment that every single child will get one nutritious meal a day. We know there are children on path, but we're saying we're going to go beyond path because there are many needy students who are not on path who need that support. Let me move to energy. The major impediment to being a more cost-effective and competitive nation, and also for individuals. The biggest bill every individual gets is their light bill. And for business, if you're paying so much for electricity, you can't compete competitively with other countries in the world. So we're going to say we're going to open up and liberalize the electricity grid. We're going to allow for more renewables. We're going to put in place funding that people can more easily access renewable energy. And we're going to make sure there's more large-scale renewable energy coming into the grid. That will ease the burden of the electricity costs for individuals, but also businesses. The third one is efficiency.
Hold on a little bit before you leave energy. What role will the government play in terms of getting access to these renewables and getting these up and operational?
So one of the biggest, if you want to call it, I call it the cost of corruption. We haven't had a rollout of renewable energy since 2016. But the 2016 rollout was based on what we did in 2013, where we opened up bidding for renewable energy. Since then, the government just completed last year, it took them 8 years to do a new request for proposal, bids for new renewable energy. Now, why is that important? We depend on heavy fuel oil. We import oil. That's the biggest cost of use of foreign exchange in the country. And the only way we can sustainably reduce that is to implement other projects like solar and wind. The reality is that this government has been slow out of the blocks doing that. And so what we're saying is we're going to place more emphasis on bringing more renewables on the grid. When those renewables come on the grid, we will ensure by reforming and liberalizing how the electricity sector works, that those benefits are passed on to the end user. Right now, you have other entities that generate, sell to JPS, and then JPS determines the end price. We need more transparency in that pricing process. So our next commitment, so the first two, education, energy. The third relates to efficiency. We recognize that. Okay.
I don't want to leave energy yet because energy is critical, Julian. And if we don't cut this electricity bill, we're paying what now? About 43, 44 cents US per kilowatt hour. When will the government take? Will the government, will a PNP government take the schools off the grid by putting in solar? Maybe hospitals off the grid by putting in solar. Would the government be directly involved in those, because those are government bills as well?
Right. All right. So what started when we were there, and which has continued, we started an efficiency program at public buildings, hospitals, government offices. Now that efficiency program had a number of components, because efficiency is also important and not just renewables. They go hand in hand. So how the cooling of your roof, what you put on a slab roof makes a big difference in terms of the heat that you have inside the building and how much AC you have to use. The way your windows are tinted, for example, also makes a difference. So we started a program of efficiency. It was funded by the World Bank and the IDB, and we went into a number of buildings, government buildings. That's something that we're going to continue. It did continue with this government, but I think it has stopped now. So efficiency, because you can save 30–40% of your electricity bill, the types of bulbs you use, and ensuring that you're using the most efficient renewable energy type things, so inverter ACs, all of those things. So that's part of the thrust on energy. On efficiency, recognize that businesses, MSMEs, are the foundation of growth in the country. We're going to restructure DBJ to make sure that those loans, the fees that you have to pay up front, that those fees are put in the loan and that you can add it to the loan time and the loan amount. Right now, people have to find $500,000–600,000 up front if they're borrowing $10 million. The reality is, if you can find that money, you don't really need to borrow the money, right?
Right.
And so the upfront cost is a major inhibitor. We're saying to MSMEs, for the first 3 years of your operations, you don't have to pay corporate income tax.
How much the government going to lose from that?
It's not significant, and I'll explain why. The first thing is that many of the MSMEs stay outside the formal sector because they don't want to pay tax. That's the first reason. Secondly, businesses don't tend to generate significant profit in the first couple of years of operation. So you might say, what's the incentive to do it? What we want is we want those businesses to come in the formal system, because as you grow and develop, if you're not formal, you won't be able to access funding. You can't go to the bank as an informal thing without having proper accounts and audited accounts. So bringing you into the formal system early ensures that as you grow and you need more credit, you can grow your business. And then finally, how we're going to deal with the emerging economies and to deal with cultural and creative industries, musicians, artists, entertainers, content creators, all of these things. What we are saying is we're going to establish a fund, a $1 billion fund, which will allow people, if you want to build out entertainment venues, if you want to do a business plan to grow your business, it will support those types of entities.
Question.
For all segments of cultural and creative industries.
The fund, is it a loan? Is it a loan facility or is it a grant? What is it?
It's more going to be a loan facility. We can examine whether we can do grants, but the reality is that we want sound business plans that can earn money and that can be repaid, right? It will be administered through the DBJ that would do the due diligence to ensure that these are proper businesses. I mean, grants, we can see how we can address that, but we have to be careful in terms of how we manage that.
So it's mostly a loan facility to content creators.
Yes. Not just content creators, the broad cross-section.
Right. You also said that it will be...
There are about 28. There are about 28, you know it better than me, subsections, and it would encompass all of them.
You also mentioned that it will be used to build out venues for festivals and things like that. Are you speaking to the entertainment zone that will go into some of that?
Am I still with you? I think the thing dropped again.
No, you mentioned that some of that funding will also be used to build out entertainment spaces. And I was wondering if you were referring to the entertainment zones.
Yes, because we recognize there's a real conflict. You know, we don't have enough zones that people can put on parties and can go late in the night because you have to deal with Noise Abatement Act. And so we want to put private sector in a position where the private sector undertakes the risk. I mean, when I look at venues, there are some venues that are patronized heavily. Mass camp in my own constituency at the stadium, but it poses issues for the neighboring communities. There are Plantation Cove out in Draxhall Center. That's very highly subscribed. So we have to find venues across the country, not too far from where people live, that we can have more of these kind of venues that people can put on entertainment events.
Now, Julian, you are the Minister of Finance in waiting. The government in the United States, I think the Secretary of State, Mark Rubio, is saying that we are involved in forced labor, bringing in doctors and nurses from Cuba, and they're going to take away people visas. What are your views on that?
Well, first of all, you know, Jamaica has had a long-standing relationship with the government of Cuba. The government of Cuba has been very generous to the government of Jamaica. They've built out facilities here. There are still schools, many schools, Jose Marti, GC Foster, Gavi Massey, you can name them. And they have sent their professionals across the world to work in countries like ourselves, like Jamaica, particularly in the healthcare industry. I know many of my constituents, particularly people who have challenges with their eyes, cataract, etc., that have gotten operations that have made them see again. I know we are not involved in forced labor in Jamaica at all. There are Cuban professionals who come here, they earn money, they live here, they integrate into the society. There have been a tremendous benefit to not just Jamaica, but all the countries. And none of them, they're here willingly. They're not being forced to be here. And so from my perspective, Jamaica has been a major beneficiary of the generosity of the government and the people of Cuba. And I think we have to stand with them.
But Julian, when they do that, what next? They're going to take the teachers next. Because remember, we have all the Cuban teachers here too, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, it requires a coordinated response from CARICOM. I've seen leaders in the region who have spoken out very strongly against it. I haven't heard anything from our own government, but certainly as a progressive party, one that has had a long and mutually beneficial relationship with the government and the people of Cuba, we certainly could never stand up and support this, given the impact that the Cuban professionals have had in our country, and you know, the kind of assistance that they have provided to the people of Jamaica in a real tangible way.
Julian, we're wrapping up, but one of the problem, yeah, I know you have to go to a funeral. One of the problem we're having in Jamaica is the shortage of nurses. I remember there used to be Kingston School of Nursing, where Jamaican
is in my constituency.
but they used to go there for free. And in fact, the nurses that were trained there used to get a stipend. What is it possible that we could go back to training our nurses at the country's expense?
You know, I have to be careful how I answer these things because the reality is.
I'm asking if it's possible. I'm not asking if you would do it.
What I would say, what you might want to look at is the extent to which you can offer more scholarships, the extent to which you address student loans so that, people have to borrow, they're not burdened. But I don't want to go back and say that we'd be able to provide it free. They absorbing that cost, that money has to come from somewhere. But yes. I think you can look at ways to mitigate it, as I said, by scholarships, by making it easier to access student loan, by extending repayment times, so that persons who made the investment in, becoming a nursing professional don't have a heavy burden when they leave. But SHACKA, I'm going to have to leave you.
Right. I was just saying, in wrapping up, some of those for the student loan, you have announced some of those on last Thursday.
We have that. We would extend the moratorium period by 6 months. We're also going to ensure that we're going to tie your repayment to your income levels, and we're going to ensure we remove the delinquency tag. So if people are paying consistently based on what they can afford to pay, they're not considered delinquent, which means that they won't get a bad credit score, which impacts their ability to buy a car or buy a house, those things down the road. So those are the reforms we're going to make it more accessible for somebody like a nurse who may need to borrow the money to actually, choose to that profession.
Julian, I want to thank you for being with us this morning.
Sure.
We definitely will be inviting you back, and we're looking forward to the leader of opposition speech on Tuesday. Yes, definitely. Man. All right, my brethren. Bless
Thank you very much.
One love.
All right, respect.
All right. Julian Robinson, Shadow Minister of Finance. Yeah. So, you heard some of the things cleared up. Heard a whole lot of people in social media making up a whole lot of noise. The money is a loan. Nobody not going to tax you. If you want to buy equipment, if you want to set up a proper production business, if you want to build out a venue and use it as an entertainment zone, the PNP will be making loans available to you. Yeah? Let me warm the phone line now. 804-7072. What a morning. What a morning. The labor them a cuss Omar Razan. If you never hear Nadine Spence, but I'm going to play back. Lord of mercy. Omar Razan. Go play you. I'm going to tell the call in the meantime. Hello, good morning, 804-7072.
Good morning, SHACKA.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I observed a while ago is a degree of policy incoherence. Now, among other things, Julian lamented the state of public transportation, and he drew attention to, and you did as well as the program host, the gridlock, motor vehicle gridlock, and congestion on the roads.
Isn't that so?
Absolutely. However, you are making those observations within the same context where Damian Crawford, in at least articulating one of the manifesto commitments that the PNP will be coming with in the lead up to these elections, is the business of more vastly liberalized motor vehicle concessions to our educators.
But hold on. Understand something. And I don't know if you were listening. I also said in the conversation that there are a lot of people, and we're talking to Senator Marlon Morgan, right?
That is correct, Chief.
There are a lot of people who owns a car who would still park that car and take public transportation if it was efficient. Did you hear me saying that?
I noted that observation, and
right.
that's an observation that any sensible person shares, because I'll tell you why.
So we're not saying people not to buy car, and we're not going to have a liberalization of the car industry that more people can get concession. We're not changing our mind on that. But we are saying that when you live in Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, in most of the town areas, and you want to get to work, you should be able to leave that car like the people in London do.
And the people in New York
and
Long Island and so on. All right, let me share something with you now, Colin. Let me share something with you. Contrary to the narrative that people like yourself may peddle, what is happening with the JUTC now is a building of its capacity and an injection of new buses into the fleet. So yes, we are mindful of the deficits that have been present at the JUTC, certainly in relation to its fleet and how the fleet has been depleted. The scheduling of bus repairs and reacquisition of buses has not been what it ought to be. There are 100 JUTC buses that are on order, my friend, out of Jamaica's own resources and will be landed into the country come July of 2025. So in other words, in a few weeks from now.
And that will still not take us back to where we were in 2016.
Where we were in 2016, we were rolling out buses and in a context where we were not making adequate investments in new buses and in the maintenance of our buses. And that is what happened between 2016 and 2020, where a number of those buses
between
went out
2016 and 2020. Yeah, you're right. You never made the investment.
Go ahead. I don't want us to speak at it.
No, man, but hear me now. But hear me now. I'm here host the program.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
So if you pay the respect to the host, then we will be fine. Go ahead.
But Colin,
no man, just go ahead with the argument.
Requesting and preferring to not have us speak at the same time is not a disregard for the program.
No man, but you sound like
cool. So let me
just go ahead with the argument now.
Cool. So watch me now. When you're not, a lot of the buses that would have been handed over in March 2016 to the JP were buses that were on the cusp of the end of their useful life. And that is what we saw over the period. So the idea is that there are two things I'm articulating on the business of the JUTC. The timely acquisition of new buses into the fleet, injecting them in a timely manner, but B, an appropriate maintenance schedule that ensures that the buses give you even longer usage. So I'll tell you this as well, Colin. The model that the government is utilizing at present is what is called buses powered by compressed natural gas, CNG buses. What that does as well, my friend, it affects cost savings at the hemorrhaging JUTC because the fuel theft, the fuel pilferage that often bedevils the JUTC is coming considerably south because the buses use compressed natural gas and the guys in areas like some communities in and around the Lake Spend facility or the Spanish Town depot rather, there in St. Catherine are not able to benefit from what they were benefiting from in
yesteryear. So answer this question. Answer this question. Why is the wage bill the same at 30% of the JU operating at its capacity? 30% of capacity. The wage bill is still the same as it were when we had 450 at bus.
All right. So in any business operation, you have what is called essentially fixed cost and variable cost. Now, the idea is that when you have people employed in your operational activities, whether they're at the middle management level, your accounting clerk, your record keeping officers, all of these people, though your rollout of buses each morning may be less or considerably less, it does not mean that the accounts payables clerk at JUTC stops coming to work.
Definitely. Marlon, hold on. I don't really know why you take with down that level like we not understand nothing about business.
No man, don't take issue with how
one of the main questions. All right, let me ask you the question direct. Why is it that we still have so much drivers if we don't have the amount of bus for them drive?
Because the idea is that yes, some of the drivers at JUTC, some of them, I believe that they are contracted people. They are essentially, in some cases, casual workers. But you know that it is important where you envisage bringing more buses into the fleet and you are going to be absorbing those drivers. So the idea is this, my friend. The wage bill at the JTC is not likely to go down in any significant way because the strategy.
So you
of
keep
the
them till you
government,
get the bus. You keep the drivers till you get the bus.
the drivers may have different arrangements in terms of whether their contracts are broken. Some of them may be permanently employed. The drivers at the JTC have different employment arrangements,
All right,
and some of
Marlon.
them are also repositioned in terms of working and serving in other areas, to include motor bus dispatchers and so on. But there's one other point I wanted to make.
Go right
just
ahead.
before, just 2 minutes. One other point I wanted to make before we close out, Colin. Your good friend Ralston Hyman was on TVJ Smile Jamaica the morning after Favor
Hold on,
Williams
hold on,
opened
hold
the
on,
budget
Marlon.
debate,
Hold on a
right?
little bit. Hold on a little bit.
Yeah.
Hold on. Ralston Hyman hosts a program on Power 106 5 days a week, and he takes calls at the end of his show. So if the point is about Ralston, me now go
No, man,
discuss
the point
Ralston.
is not about Ralston.
Okay.
The
Me
point
just
is
make it
about
clear
the
before you
PNP.
go down tonight. Go ahead.
So there are two things that I called it this morning based on a discussion with Julian.
Right.
The fundamental expression I used is policy incoherence.
All right.
I'm unpacking the other point.
Go ahead.
I made the first point earlier. I'm coming to the second one now, quickly in 2 minutes.
Yeah, man.
Ralston made mention, quite accurately so, that based on the geopolitical vagaries that are unfolding at present, the tariff wars that are swirling about, and Donald Trump's action as the President of the United States, we are likely to have an acceleration in global inflation. That has implications, as Ralston Hyman has put it, and he's correct on that observation. It has implications for inflation globally, which goes on to have implications for what happens re-interest rates. So the idea is that you and I and Julian Robinson and any other well-thinking Jamaican would want to see interest rates coming down so that it frees up money and makes money much cheaper rather for businesses and people seeking to invest to access capital. However, at present, though the central bank, our independent central bank, has cut its benchmark interest rates, and you would want the market to take signals from that and reduce their rates in commensurate ways. We're having a lag in that regard, unfortunately, because the banks are mindful as well as to what is happening in the global north. And the truth of the matter is that the tariff wars that are going on are likely to cause and accelerate, as Ralston observed, inflationary pressures globally. And the banks, being mindful of that, are not likely to precipitously reduce their interest rates. So we have a challenge there. The point of departure between myself and Julian Robinson is that Julian, in this context, is looking at monetary tools as his solutions. I know that there's a value and a place for monetary tools. But what is very important, and that is what the government has exhibited based on Favor's contribution to the budget debate on Tuesday, is the importance, Colin, of fiscal tools. Now, what do I mean by that? When the government essentially does the suite of things that it is doing to reduce inflationary pressures and, of course, bring relief to businesses, you are helping them to be able to flourish. So you're using fiscal policy, which is government spending and taxation, to effect and realize outcomes that you want and outcomes that are desired. Because you know that there are some limitations, especially in the current environment, to using monetary policies.
All right, my brother. Enough respect. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the contribution.
Yeah, man. Respect. Cool.
804-7072. Give me a call. Let me tell you that we listen to Anti-Feval on Tuesday.
Morning,
Ed boy.
my brother.
Hold on.
How you doing?
My good man. Hold on. Don't move. We listen to Anti-Feval on Tuesday. And one of the problems that we have, and with all that Marlon has just said, he has not spoken to the issue of growing the Jamaican economy. And that's where the Jamaica Labour Party is losing the whole understanding of what is happening. Growth for the economy. Go ahead, Ed boy.
Yeah, but Professor, brother Colin, let me tell you something, right? And let me say this to Senator Marlon, with no water in my mouth. Sir, you cannot redo Favor's presentation. She already made her presentation, and the country has decided that she's not fit and proper to represent them as Minister of Finance. So let us just not waste our time with
It is simple, Ed boy.
this
You-
back and forth, right?
Hold on. He said it right. With all that is happening in America and with tariffs and all of these things, it cannot be pure microeconomics. We have to show growth, how we are going to grow the economy, how we are going to start earn the money to pay back the debt. Not to get
Yeah,
down
but she
to
never
60%.
demonstrated that in her presentation.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what the Labour rights are
Right.
missing. That it needs that aspect.
But here this Kunumuno, I'm not afraid to say so, referring to the JUTC issue that he has no knowledge of. What is happening is that it is clear that Julian and Michael Phillips, as spokesperson and transport, has uncovered a level of corruption at the JUTC.
Something nasty down there.
No, let me say so, because I know the JUT. Once it touched the Ministry of Transport portfolio, brother, they should call me the junior minister of transport.
Oh yeah,
Let me tell you.
you're that brilliant in there. Talk to me.
Yes, once it comes on to transport. What used to the precursor when Garnet Roper and Colin Campbell were running the JUTC? What they did were measures which saw growth at the JUTC.
Which we almost broke even.
And I'm going to tell you why. There was a policy afoot. The JUTC took back some of its profitable routes.
Yes.
Then had an arrangement with the transport authorities which said, look here, why are we approving route license for these profitable routes that belong to the JUTC? Give the other routes to other taxi operators. Take back with profitable routes. Run the buses on time, right?
Yes.
And also have a revenue loss department that monitors the loss of revenue.
Yeah.
What is happening now at the JUTC? First of all, the man from Portland, and the nonsense started with Montague. I keep on saying it. They had this liberalization of route license.
Well, yes, that was one of the main things that hit JUTC
that
hard.
were bringing route license on the same profitable routes of the JUTC. It's crazy. What you should have been doing is bolstering up support for those routes that were proved to be profitable for the JUTC. So these guys don't understand how to run JUTC. So let them go sit down, right? But the $1 billion in increase, right? Because there's no way you can run an organization, right, at lower capacity in terms of your output, but you still pay the same bill.
It cannot be.
Something
You
can't
have
add up,
if you cut
right?
if you cut production, you must have to cut your costs.
Cost of exactly.
You're not
cost.
producing to the level when if you have 600 persons working and you are producing 10,000 pounds of chicken, just for word speaking, and your production dropped to 5,000 pounds of chicken. You tell me
You have to reflect that.
You're going to keep the 600 people same way? No,
but you see
no
the
run,
question
so.
you ask him, he could not answer because them know the line. You ask him, he says, okay, what not to keep them driver there until the bus
you
them
get the
come.
bus. Of course.
But here the next reality that these guys are crazy about. For example, there are certain routes that the JUTC have that require those electric buses to use. So for example, within the Kingston area, so from Halfway to downtown, the electric buses should be deployed there. Because those are shorter routes.
But you don't.
Right?
But one of the problems, Ed boy, with all them are going, them don't have enough bus to move the amount of people. And when you sat down for 8 years, you as Marlon said, when they came in, the stock was being depleted, old stock and all, and you sit down for 8 years. Well, I know, but let's say that is true, Ed boy, because at a time, bus are gonna get old, right? And that's why you shouldn't sit down for 8 years and have to buy 100 one time. You should have buy 20 every year.
Let me refer Lion Marlon Morgan and the JLP to a Gleaner article dated in June 2014, where Garnet Roper met with the company in Belgium. Right? You know why I can talk about JUTC so passionately? I had the privilege when Garnet Roper was chairman to kind of understudy what was happening at the JUTC whilst I was attending his institution that he was the principal at. Yeah?
Okay.
And I had so much interest in the JUTC. I have so much interest in transport in general. But let me not waste no time just on the JUTC alone.
No, we
The other
can't.
point I want to raise is about this water thing. And let me show you a bad mind that big nose one.
Now, man,
Right?
listen.
I mean, the Prime Minister, sorry.
I may see with him because the man like the idea.
Yeah, but him don't know if he implement it. Him don't know if he teeth it.
The man like the idea. The man say, "Man, the best baby father of your ideas." The man hear ideas, but only the finished product show that the detail now out. Them need the details.
But let me help you with this joker fellow, right? Why is he bad minding people like Mike Henry, Bamsey Grange, and others who are going to be retired soon and will be getting a set water rate? Yeah. Anyway, on a serious note, no. On a serious note.
Talk to me.
On a serious note, when you look at this thing, and I don't want to go in because I pointed it over with an Andre Stevens with Isaac Buchanan last night. I don't want to go in it too much because I see where the PNP is heading, right? When you look at the numbers, let's say we have 380,000 senior citizens in Jamaica, which is what the number is, the last census before this one was published. Well, it's not been published yet. Now, it means that you have a pool of over 300,000 minimum people who are qualified for that, right? So what it means, the Water Commission is having a revenue problem right now, meaning they're having a collection problem. Yeah. What it means is you will have 300 set customers that the Water Commission knows every month they're getting that $4,000 from.
It's also it's also a secure piece of funding.
Exactly. The next thing, if you want to float a bond, because these idiots don't understand the brilliance of Mark Golding and the team that is around him in the PNP. If you want to float a bond to fix some of the inherent issues in the Water Commission, like one, addressing this heavy oil fuel thing, we still are using electricity to generate water in Jamaica when we should be using solar, renewables,
especially in the summer.
Yes,
that's so
and
easy
especially
to
in the
do.
rural areas.
That is
and
so
especially
easy
in
to
some
do.
of the rural areas where the hills, where you have a good. So those are the things we should be looking at. How can you? So this strategy by the PNP to set the water, I think it's a brilliant move. And anybody who grudge old people getting a chance, having served the country for so long, haven't gotten back something from the country, is nothing but bad mind. But the reason why him can't talk about people wanting to be freeloaders, and the Prime Minister is out of order to talk about freeloaders, right? No, I remember saying him have more than how much apartments. So I wonder how him going get the whole light. Yeah, him can only have it for one. Yeah, him can only have it at one. So, sir, don't grudge the idea because you are not the conceptualizer. Because never you are the baby father, right? The next point I want to raise is the EASE program, which gives me great joy because I've been advocating for this for a long time. I don't see why we cannot give a meal per child at school every day. I don't see why we can't do it.
We should. I mean,
right? It is a testament of a country's character.
First
and
world countries are doing. What the first world country them do? 2 meals a day.
2 meals a day. They have breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. Plus,
I mean, we don't have that kind of money, but if we can do it, we ought to.
But we can do one, and we can gradually raise once the economy gets better.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then what I'm calling upon now, I'm calling upon alumni, a lot of alumnus, a lot of people who have persons who have graduated from some of these institutions are doing well far afield. You can adopt a school and maybe adopt a breakfast initiative in the morning. You run it for a month, somebody else run it for a month.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And what I like about this program.
Hey boy, I'm going to give somebody else a chance. So.
No problem, my brother. You know it. All the best.
All right.
All the best.
804-7072. Good morning.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, what go on, Mystical?
Blessed.
One love. Welcome.
Yeah. When you take in the arguments and the discussions.
I'm not hearing you properly, Mystical.
Not here.
No. When you call in first, I was hearing you clearly.
You're hearing me now?
Yes, man. Go ahead.
Great. Yeah, boy, we're having intermittent outages and all. Yeah.
Oh, power going and coming in St. Thomas?
Yeah, man. From the other day, we've been having that. Apparently, man, them been removing some posts, you know.
Oh, they're doing some changing out. Hello?
Yeah.
Mystical, you're gone again.
Gone again?
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah. Works engineering works that I've ever experienced in observation of film works, engineering works in Jamaica and in the world. Yeah.
You're using a headpiece, Mystical?
Huh?
You're using a headphone? Or you have me on speaker?
Three and three.
Oh, no, take me off of the hands free because it's not working out so nice.
Hello?
Go ahead now.
Yeah, man. You hear me better?
That's much better.
Okay, I don't
No, the hands free them don't work so good when you're on here.
yeah, because the electricity and I can't use my iPhone
Oh.
right now, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to just go on with a little opportunity now with this.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
Yeah, I talk about civil engineering works, yeah.
Poor.
Relatable to the Southern Coastal.
Boy, the Southern Coastal Highway is a piece of engineering disaster.
You know, say that you know where I'm at with deliberate, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a deliberate partisan, political, parochial approach, yeah, to governance in this country, because just as what is happening with the JUTC, just as what is happening in education, just as what is happening in health and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
These people allow these areas to run down and to use a short period of time. I think all of us fool. We don't have no sense.
Yeah.
We don't have no knowledge of things. And we only deal with optics, yeah?
Yeah.
We only move by scheme and colors and gymnastics, yeah?
Talk to me.
It's just like that. So they need everything for a short time within a year or half a year to see if they can bamboozle, yeah?
Yeah.
And affect the mind of people, yeah, to gravitate to them gymnastics and them coloration, so to speak, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And that will grab the heart and they will make a capricious decision, yeah?
Lord.
Yeah, as against a studied decision. So that is what has been happening. It doesn't go on that. That is exactly what is happening. And it happens right across the spectrum. Yeah. So we are enduring the hardship.
Yes,
and the
we are
difficulty
fighting.
Here.
Yes, we are fighting with you.
Definitely.
All right,
yeah.
my brother. Big up yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Cool.
All right. One
cool.
love. 804-7072. Give us a call. We're ready to discuss any issue you want to discuss. If you're not talking about growth, so Favor never come with no growth agenda. And the Prime Minister, if you're not coming with no growth agenda, no come. Because that is what Jamaica needs. 804-7072. Good morning.
Mr. Colin Bell, good morning. It's the top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to you, my brother. Go ahead.
I have a question for you, man. I'm not that so educated in all this type of thing, but maybe you can give me a better understanding. In regards to the Cuban doctors and nurse, that are you hearing me?
Yeah, man, loud and clear.
Okay. In regarding to the Cuban doctor and nurses that is in Jamaica that have been helping out the country so well, I want to ask a question then. If the Jamaican government is not entering in any type of corruption with the Cuban leader himself in exploiting the nurses and the doctor in Jamaica, I want to ask a question. Why is it then that he cannot speak up about defending the doctors and nurses that he have in Jamaica that is working so good for him?
Well, maybe he's not ready to speak. I don't know. We have heard at least 3 Caribbean leaders spoke already, and they are adamant that they are not in any wrongdoing, and they will continue to be a part of the program. Because without these Cuban doctors and nurses, our health sector is going to be in major crisis.
Exactly.
And America don't have enough to send to us.
Right. So this is where I came down to the point because since they have been threatened by Mark Zuckerberg, whatever his name is.
Marco Rubio.
Yeah, about taking away visa. Now the question is, if that being so the case to take away the visa, would that be the diplomatic visa or the regular traveling visa from them?
Well, I don't know which one. If it's the diplomatic one, because the diplomatic one is not issued by America. I don't think so. Right. I think a diplomatic passport is issued by Jamaica, and it is accepted around the world by different countries. But what maybe they would do is stop our people from coming into their country. So what?
But if the Jamaican government have business in America, I don't see where the United States is gonna stop them from traveling to come and do their business.
You see, the problem is, my brother, my view is that the Caribbean should speak with one voice on this. And that's why
Exactly.
I believe from a long time that we should have a Caribbean region. The Caribbean region should be united. But it was the GLP back then in the 70s that voted against federation. And that's why the Caribbean is fragmented as is. Hold on for me. Hold the line for me. Hold the line for me. 804-7072. Good morning.
Morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Do I need to wait or I can go ahead?
No, man, go ahead.
So this is Damian Phillips, by the way.
Yeah.
I have some observation this morning. One is, and maybe I should ask in private, but it was done in public. Why were you so defensive, or when the senator mentioned Hyman's name?
No, I'm saying that I am not going to be discussing not a host, a broadcast host who have a show. So him have a show. So if a him you are gonna talk about, then me that's prefer you talk to him for a film show. But
okay. But you don't think it would be more professional to allow the person to call out?
Hold on. Me like prevention, so me prefer before him get there, me stop him. But me not think my thinking should have been really what we are talking about this morning.
Wait, I'm glad you said that, because I think it's time that you change the what you call it, show. Talk to me, and you're telling people call and discuss anything if you have your set, things that you only want to hear or only want to talk about. I think that is disingenuous. You can't say call and talk to me about anything you want to talk about. And like I said a while ago, this wasn't something done in private. It was publicly.
No, but
he was making a point. The senator was making a point.
Hold on,
if you realize...
Hold on, DP. How I operate my show is how I operate my show. So if there's something that I am guarding against, I am going to tell you not to do it before you do it if I see you starting on the road. And that's what I did.
So let me ask you this then. So why you never guard Ed Boy about calling the Prime Minister idiot and Morgan Marlan liar, and why you never guard against those things?
So hold on. You know, here when him go to the Prime Minister, I say no. You never hear that?
No, he said several disparaging stuff. One at a time, them you say no, don't do that.
DP, yeah, I don't know. You have a problem with how I operate my program, but it's my.
No, me just point out the bias. That's all I'm doing. I'm
bias?
Pointing out the bias.
How long did I give
when
Marlon Morgan to speak?
you tell people to call, and then you try to either talk over them. But when people from your shade of political preference, which me not tell me, I just observation me make, and I think it's a public platform where you see people call, and as if people have credit
to you.
Right. So may I say it just in a sound professional where you tell people to call and talk what they want to talk about, but then clearly if somebody is talking the things where you want to hear, it stop tell people to call in then. Can me hear you over and over, labor rights to call in and trolls to call in and learn stuff. But when people call, you can just hear that you don't want to hear that. And worse if you check the chat room. Like, don't say it. Just tell PMP if you call and talk what you want to talk. Say. So, question. I remember listening to talk show from in the 90s, 2000, whatever. And one of the concern, I've never taken the JTC in Kingston, but people used to call about the bus a leak, when rain a fall, then can't deploy bus, AC a leak, all of them something there. But when I listen to you and even Julian and Michael, I even had boy a while ago, it sounded like JUTC was always perfect under the PNP. So me get it wrong, or?
All right, so I believe you get it wrong, because the JUTC under the PNP was a new bus system brought in by Dr. Peter Phillips when he was Minister of Transportation. And that came back from when there was private sector running transportation system in Kingston. And when Peter Phillips brought back JUTC, it was all new buses. It was a dignified transportation system that people used to wait on. It used to come. I remember I used to go to Kingston, and when I pass Al Templar, the amount of people you see out there. That had stopped for a while until recently that start back. So JUTC actually became a well-run service in the KMTR when it started out.
Which year we're talking about?
Dr. Peter Phillips was maybe about 2005. I don't remember exactly when JUTC came back. I need to check it. But somewhere down this on a long time. And it's not the old JOS bus. It's not the bus system that we had in the 90s. It was coming out of under PJ Patterson that they changed back the transportation system in Kingston. So it was a good system.
We're just talking about a name change. So when did it deteriorate? When did it start? When did it start get to what I hear you guys explaining now? Which year?
What we are explaining is not deteriorating of the quality of the buses. What we are explaining and what we're talking about is the small amount of buses that we now have. As we said,
I hear you. So
what I am saying is, I'm speaking.
What I'm saying is, when the 400 and something bus was running out, there were all good buses, not.
I am speaking. I allow you to speak when you speak. So when I speak, you need to stop and allow me to speak. Right. So when the JUTC bus came back, it was a well-run system, good buses. Even now, the buses are in excellent condition. You might find a 1 or 2 bus that would have leaked. But what happened when the GLP came in power in 2016, we had 450 buses rolling out on a daily basis. Right now, we are at under 200. So the stock has been depleted. And the GLP for 9 years have allowed the stock to be depleted. Is last year, them buy 100 bus. And when they bought 100, basically a done bus, them take off of the road. So the 100 just basically replenish the stock. Grow the stock. And that is what we are talking about. Hello?
My time now?
Yes, sir, your time.
No, man, listen, man, because you have this power struggle thing where you want people listen to you.
Man,
so I don't have a problem listening.
But I keep telling you, this is my program, DP. I'm going to run it, or me run it, not how you so desire.
Yeah, bro, but you come back to what I started with. If you don't want people to have a conversation, don't tell people to call. Because you did it with even the senator. You tell him to go ahead and talk. You tell him to go ahead and talk, and when he starts talking, you still showing questions.
All right, have a good day, my brother. Hello, good evening. Morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, talk to me, my brother. Welcome to the show, man. Talk to me.
Yeah, yes, sir. In the university trail where other day, thanks. Other day when the Jamaica Day team with the school children, and if you notice the trend where them use the children and I put up the sign thing.
I put up the what?
2 finger business. Ever notice it?
Where them use the children, I put up 2 finger?
Yeah.
Really, the 2 finger mean peace, you know? Putting up the 2 finger mean peace.
So, no, the GLP slogan.
Well, it is also the GLP sign, but when you see the children, them I put it up, a peace them mean.
I think something nice. Yeah, but I think them I use them kids.
The politics, I don't want to agree with that.
Okay. Anyway, I mean I say if you never notice a trend, but
Me see
anyway,
it, but through me I say a peace it mean and that the children them a portray. Me not really take it me none.
All right. Miss Favor now.
Yeah.
Miss Favor lose the flavor, you know.
You say she lose her flavor?
Yeah. I must say she's a fail at the education.
Oh, so you are saying that she fail in the Ministry of Education?
Yeah, so can she be so? Yeah, so she can, I believe she can run the finance.
The problem that I am having with what they are doing with finance in Jamaica, they are not dealing with the planning aspect of it. The ministry is Ministry of Finance and Planning. I am not seeing any plans that will grow the Jamaican economy, that will make the Jamaican people live a better life. I'm not seeing those plans.
Yeah, but again, she go on national TV and make it look like she don't know math.
People can make mistakes.
Yeah. Then, if you notice when he said that, about they $2,000. Miss what's your name?
Deanne Jackson Miller.
Try to bring her around, you know. I'm sure I said, really? But she didn't pick up. She continued to elaborate.
Yeah, and then ask her a second time if
Yeah,
she
so
still
that means
stand
that
by
she
it.
stick to it.
Yeah.
I think she's tired, you know.
They are out of touch with reality, brother. They are
Yeah,
out
I
of
think she's
touch
tired.
with
I need to
reality.
step aside.
Yeah.
She not performing.
Yeah.
If the Prime Minister has to stick to what him this about performance and peer grading, you need to be cut.
Yeah. Well, I would have said the whole of
understand?
them. The whole of them pay need to be cut.
You know, so I'm upset over that though. What you see on the program.
Why him upset about what
Because
Favor said about the Pro Box?
yeah, if you notice in Parliament, you know, him head down all the while. I read the comment them about the program.
Nah, look on she.
Him now pay no mind. I read the comment them about the pro box. I'm very upset, and I'm very upset.
Yes.
And this Prime Minister is so out of touch now, and he's so desperate. You know what he's preaching now? Him using the young people, want to brainwash the young people, them now.
Where my brainwash them with?
Have a look, you know. You understand?
Where
If
my
you
don't-
notice in speech.
Where my brainwash the youth them with?
You know, you say, boy, I'm look to the needs, communicate to the younger people, them now.
Yeah,
Begin the third term.
because he might think they are easier to pick up him rubbish, but the young people are well informed. They are well informed. They are listening to everything. They are summing up everything.
Yeah, him so desperate now, so much I use the younger populace now for both them thing.
Yeah.
Come like the criminal underworld, no. I play like the criminal underworld where I recruit the young mind.
Yeah.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, the more that touch, man, you need to go.
All right, my brother. Enough respect.
Yeah, and I want more thing. Pertaining to the Cuban thing. I don't think the Prime Minister is so weak and soft.
Nothing come out of him.
Eh?
Nothing him not say all now.
And if it's talk, yes.
Him not going to say nothing. Him not going to say anything.
He's so weak and soft. If I go talking to him one interest, I think he might give away the Cuban doctor them.
He can't give them away. If him give them away, who are going to take care of our people?
You believe in strong enough if you revoke his visa?
America can do that, but what would it mean?
If you believe the Prime Minister is strong enough to give up his visa.
I mean, of course, I think that he would stand up to that. I don't think that would have been problem.
Man, I'm weak, man. I'm soft, man. Watch it.
Well, we are going to see what go on if he must say nothing, because we have heard other Caribbean leaders speaking out on the matter and standing up for what they believe and what they think their country should be allowed to do as sovereign nations.
Stand up for the Cuban, then we'll try to recruit Philippines and all of those.
All right, my brother. Mr. Ralston, I call me. Hold on there. What right, teacher? Where I say? Yes, man. May I? Right away. You see, my people, me not understand what happened to this little youth named Damian Phillips. What is wrong with you, Damian? You can't tell me how to run my show. Me I go run my show. Oh, me run my show. For years. Right? A long time I do this. And therefore, when you call my show and you want to talk to me, talk to me. I answer every call. I talk to every guy. Me no refuse from talk to nobody. I give Marlon Wilson 12 minutes. Him no need more than that. Hold on there for me. Hold on the teacher. Me give him 12 minutes. You can't come on my program and behave like and you want to run my program. No. So, if you believe that I have a bias, then you no must call. But you call because you know that I am going to give you an opportunity to speak. But don't try abuse my platform and behave like you want dictate whose call me take and how me talk to them. Ralston Hyman, morning.
Blessing, sir.
We spoke after Favour Williams, and now we're talking after Julian Robinson's presentation. A lot of people are questioning, and I hear them, and they sound so disingenuous. How Julian going finance these things that he speaks to?
Right.
You are aware how these things are going to be financed? Talk to me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And one of the things that you notice the disingenuity is that them never ask the government how them are going to finance their measures that that Favour talked about. Because those measures
over 9 billion of giveaways.
Precisely. And they never asked her how she would finance it. And because them don't know anything about the macroeconomic situation, them don't know anything about the fiscal rule, all of them chat. Them don't know anything about the accounts of the country. Them just a chat. The reason why Favour did that, none of the measures that Favour outlined were in the original budget numbers of $1.26 trillion.
None.
Yeah, but she knows that all of the fiscal rule, you're allowed to run a fiscal deficit of 0.3% of GDP.
Right.
That is why she went up to the almost $10 billion. Well, similarly, that is what Julian is saying. We know that we can run a fiscal deficit of $10.34 billion under the fiscal rule, and that's why I told him about the $10 billion envelope. So the same $10 billion that she's spending, he would spend it a different way.
Oh.
So in other words, we wouldn't be giving any money to the auto dealers, giving away that money because
the big auto dealers.
Because that is not anything that is going to be passed on to the public. As you hear Jackie Stewart Leckler said yesterday, she's the president of the Automotive Dealers Association. She said that they're not going to pass on that money to any persons who are buying cars.
That was their money anyway.
Precisely. So that is what she's saying. It's our money and we're not giving away any of that money. So that wasn't necessary for the government to do that. This thing about reducing the dividend to 15% for external companies, that money, that we're not going to give away that because all that is doing is giving the external companies that are making a bag of money in Jamaica more money.
That's company like company like Scotiabank.
Scotiabank and all of those banks. Yeah. So we're not going to do that. So we would use our $10 billion envelope better. So if they were real analysts, they would know about those things. The problem is that all of them just done some bias.
Yeah, that's why they keep asking where the money will come from. The money is there.
Yep. The money is there. That's why Favour, why they never ask Favour where the money is coming from.
But why aren't they asking Favour? Well, I hear some of them now because I can't believe when I heard Nadine Spence speak to the government, the opposition as an alternative government. I couldn't believe it, Ralston, when I heard it. Because
man, that's a big capitulation and genuflection. So reality staring them in them face now. So no matter how them bias, them know say, things really look away. Yep.
Listen,
because when them are really question them academic credibility when them chat them nonsense. You know?
Yes.
Yeah, so we don't rate enough of them who say them are academics because we see the bias, and because of the bias, them destroy them scholarships. So them are lose ratings in the public.
Ralston, talk to us, you see, about this argument about if you make the banks compete for the money, it going cost higher interest rate.
Yeah, that's a brother when Keenan Faulkner come up with them garbage there. Let me tell you something. In an auction, right, you do not necessarily have to accept the highest or the lowest bid. You can accept the bid that satisfies the objective of the auction.
That you want, right?
And I reminded them when Mr. SHACKA had his bogus auction in the 1980s, the dollar was $5.50 every day. It never go up. Keenan Faulkner and them they just coming at them thing. Them are not expert. Them have a historical perspective. Yeah? So you can deal with the thing in such a way that it achieves the objective that you want without affecting the price. And the objective is not to affect the price. The objective is to have a better distribution of the funds. Yeah? The auction is just a mechanism in which you give everybody a chance to bid. You decide what you want to come out at.
With the kind
them
of
never
budget.
have no answer to the problem, and because the man come up with an answer to the problem, then come with them with foolishness. Oh, the dollar stayed at $5.50 for almost 5 years, and we had an auction from 1986 to 1989.
And we had an
auction system we had.
But tell me something, Ralston. the kind of budget that Julian put forward on Thursday, do you see the growth in that budget?
Yes, and that is why all of them are flabbergasted, because what they put up was an accountant budget. They never put up a gross budget. And because them get boxed up for 6th Street and Lane now, all of the apologists, they're not try to find some little excuse, some little nitpicking business and everything. Or you have to finance it, and the auction are going to drive up the price. Yeah, but we are here and we have this historical perspective.
Even if the auction drives up the price on deposit, wouldn't the government benefit from that?
Of course. Of course. Of course. And that's not the objective. And like the government want more money from it. What the government wants is a better distribution of the funds so that we have more competition in the banking sector. That's the objective. Yeah.
And more banks will have more money to basically lend.
Yes, so Sagicor, Jane Bank, NCB, you know, and BNS could not dictate everything because Sagicor and Jane Bank would have more money.
More money can lend.
Precisely.
Because what is happening, people, is that the government have what, over $150 billion?
Yep.
That sit down in these banks.
And Scotiabank have the most of that money because historically government used to put their money with Scotiabank. What said that history is now done and we are changing.
So the foreign bank have most of the money.
Yep. And them not showing no respect for Jamaica. Archie Tugwell and our friend, and them not showing no respect for the country. And we have change that. Yeah.
What would this cause though, Ralston, on the average man? What effect would this have on the average Joe in the street?
It means that the average man will get a better return on their money, and we will get the interest rates down so that people can get money for borrow and expand their business, create more jobs, more aggregate demand, and more foreign exchange earnings from exports. That is the objective.
That is the objective, and you're saying that this measure can meet that objective.
Yes, that's the leverage that the government had. They refuse to use it. And remember, it's not that the government even gravelish and manipulate the banks. Because the government I tell the banks, all right, we will work with we bring down the asset tax over a 5-year period. The asset tax has been there for 10 years, and the JLP hasn't done anything about it.
I saw the government side laughing when Julian said that. What is it? Are they planning to do it?
No, because them don't. I mean, that when them bankrupt the country, because I talk straight now, when them bankrupt the country, and Peter Phillips and Portia have to do the heavy lifting, then put on that tax fail for pay down the debt where them run up to 147%. And them it was supposed to be a temporary measure after the IMF agreement done. Just like the housing trust measure where Andrew Wallace the carry portion of our court for. Those were some of the measures that the PNP had to implement to deal with the bankruptcy created by the JLP between 2000 and 2012. If you notice, Julian put up all of this.
All those figures, yes. All those figures came up.
Yeah, and them couldn't say nothing because them know say are true, right? So it was supposed to be removed after the IMF agreement done. Since that the IMF agreement done, and them still keep both. Them still take the money from the housing trust, and them still have the asset tax. Yeah, so after 9 years, 10 years, they never reduce it. So what Julian tell the people, them say, yo, we are going to reduce it over a 5-year period. The asset tax is 0.25% of bank assets. Bank assets are $2.6 trillion. So the asset tax, I yield somewhere between $6 and $11 billion. So what Julian said, we'll reduce it to a 5-year period. Yeah, and we'll work with we'll work with in terms of the fees that we not charge the public and all of them things. So let us work in our partnership. It's not a one-way transaction.
What do you expect from this government when they voted against the people of Jamaica in favor of the banks?
Them not gonna do it. Them not gonna do it, and that is why now them flabbergasted and crushed because Julian said all do something because they never have no plan to do nothing at all.
But they won't do it for the banks. So basically, it's easy to say that the banks have the GLP in their pockets.
Yeah, man. Them want the banks want the GLP, and we know why. Yeah. We know why. So let us start straight. So them not gonna have no plan to do nothing. Yeah. And through the man come up with something or a strategy, them are trying to find and nitpick and them look apologies in the media and the PR people them who pose as analysts who don't know nothing about the country and know anything about macro accounts.
When did the JUTC started, Ralston? When Peter Phillips started JUTC?
Peter Phillips in 1992, thereabouts.
Oh, so long, 1992. Yeah, and man. The JUTC, in my memory, was a well-run machine.
Of course, that used to carry up to, before them coming, it used to carry, last year it carried 62 million passengers. Since them come, it dropped to 18.
2016.
The fleet dropped from 400, the fleet dropped from
450 to under 200.
Yeah,
why
so mash it up.
Why is that so difficult to understand?
Yeah, when Garnet Roper and Colin Campbell used to run it, the thing was being run properly. From them take over and give them little friend them the place, everything mash up.
At one point, JUTC almost broke even, right? That was like a record. No, one of the things that shocked me is when Julian said that JUTC, them still have the same.
The same bills are only only operate at 1/3 of capacity.
The same bills.
Because of the high levels of corruption and mismanagement.
The same wage bill, the same oil bill, the same spare parts bill. How that is, what is that?
Yep. Corruption and mismanagement.
That is frightening.
Yep. Corruption and mismanagement.
Somebody saying it's a feeding tree.
Yep. Corruption and mismanagement.
Ralston, before you go, let's look at the recession, where it is now. We are almost at the end, 15 days shy of the end of the first quarter. How is it looking?
Well, as I tell you, what we see is no more than a flatlining. Their own projection is -0 to +0.1%. Right? That is it. So it means that we'll be still at the bottom. And then now, what am I telling you now, just for the people and edification, is that even when we move from a recession, we're going to go into stagnation because we're only going to grow by 1% per annum for the next 5 years.
5 years at 1%.
Yep.
But Ralston, so you're saying to me, or the GLP saying to us, that for 5 years we can't do nothing for grow the economy. 1% we're gonna grow by.
Yeah, so what the purpose in having them? Yeah.
How that can make sense? The GLP, DP, Fieval Williams book where you should put out for the budget is saying that Jamaica is only gonna grow by about 1%.
Precisely.
How that gonna help we?
That can't help nobody. And that is what I'm saying. Most of the analysts who are propagandists, them never read the budget book. So I want to tell the people them. When the Minister of Finance tables the budget, she tables what we call the revenue estimates, the medium-term debt management strategy, the fiscal policy paper, the public sector entities. So if you don't read them things, that you can't chat nothing about the budget. You are ignorant, and that's your personal opinion you're giving.
No, man.
And in that book, them say 1% per annum for the next 5 years.
DP, a Mal and Mar gonna lead you, man. So if the country is gonna grow by 1%, Ralston, will we be able to maintain then the debt to GDP? They are saying that next year budget we are gonna be at 60% of the debt to GDP. How are we gonna maintain that on 1% growth?
So for the people, them some more.
Food prices get higher.
Yeah, man. Run down the infrastructure some more. If you notice, you still have the infrastructure budget is less than last year. 18 billion less than last year. Yep.
This don't make no sense.
Yeah, no, make no sense. And here another thing now. What more I want to tell you before we leave.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the price of gold jumped to over $3,000 the first time in history.
I heard that.
You know why? Although the American economy is only decelerating, why listen to me carefully?
Yes.
It's not declining.
Yet.
It only decelerates.
Slowing
International
down.
Investor, yeah.
Same thing when it happened to Jamaica economy.
Yeah, the top boss them in the Fed, the top boss at JB Morgan Chase, the top boss at Morgan Stanley, the top boss them on finance in the world. I say, yo, this look like a recession. So we have to run for the safe haven called gold.
Yes.
And although the Jamaican economy declined by 2 consecutive quarters and I will decline again, the motor tell Jamaica said
we're not in a recession. So we now run for no safe haven because we're good.
Which is the same thing them doing at 2007 and 2008.
That's my fear. That's my fear.
We and Henry and all them money was part of that team, you know. So them money can't tell me nothing.
Once big,
he was
twice
part of that team there. Ardisha, Wayne Henry, Dennis Strong, the whole of them, yeah.
Now tell me something, Ralston. You're saying that you have seen the growth agents in Julian's speech.
Yeah, man.
So if PNP form the government sometime this year, what kind of growth we are going to be driving towards?
The dynamics will change. So we look at 2.5 to 3% in the first instance, yeah.
So
and then we can move up to 5 and then
the first what? 3, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, man. Because we need to add them to consistently for people out of poverty. By the way, you always talk about the creative industries and them today, which includes music, entertainment, food and sports. You see what I see them when they bring down mess up?
we couldn't hold people. The stadium could not hold. But Ralston, we've been telling them these things for years, you know. And they're not listening.
All right.
They are not listening.
Yeah, man.
And we've been telling them.
Well, that was a practical example of what that thing can deliver.
That industry can deliver.
You need a bigger stadium. You need more entertainment facilities because that is one of the major growth sectors of the economy.
And not just Jamaica, but the world.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
What we expecting from Marky G on Tuesday?
Well, a similar situation. Look at the relationship in terms of having good governance, a prime minister with integrity, yeah, as well as the growing the economy and them. So to cover governance and growing the economy and them things, yeah, because leadership important. So you need a leader with integrity.
So you think the prime minister then going to walk out of the parliament this time again?
Well, it's up to him. It's up to him. Everyone walk out.
We're in the world. Which part of the world on this planet you ever see the governing party walk out of the parliament?
Yeah, man. Yep. Stupidity.
Raleigh.
By the way, do you know when we get this morning? A release from the Pro Box Association of Jamaica to the minister of this them.
It came as a breaking news last night.
Yeah, man. I tell you. Papi show this day, yes.
No. Well, Raleigh, I want to thank you because this is the season, so we'll be in touch very often talking about these matters. Because Jamaican people, we have to grow the economy. We can't continue to borrow from Peter to pay Paul and believe that it's going to be better. No, we have to start producing production.
And then I give away money to foreign company where I exploit the country and I come tell them about how we pay feet and the man who talk about things for Jamaican people. Like education and meal for the youth in my school. You ask him where I want to pay fees. Yet I give foreign company free money and I give auto dealers free money. Garbage.
Exactly. We have to educate the youth, them, you know.
Of course,
because
you know,
that is the antidote. That is the antidote to crime. It's the antidote to poverty.
To productivity, all of them something there. And then you say you're a journalist and I ask the man, how much finance data, you know, I look and say the next people might give money to foreign company who are exploit you every day.
But the next people and get up and give $11.4 billion a day. Just give it away. Yo, come take a 20. Come take a 20 grand. Come take a 20 grand. Come take a 20 grand.
With borrowed money too. Borrowed money. You say them fly out of Norman Man International Airport with you.
Yeah.
Them they are the money we were supposed to collect from Norman Man International Airport.
Hold on, Ralston. One of the things where Auntie Favour said. Auntie Favour said the $20,000 that the Prime Minister did promise at conference. She said it in the budget. You read the book, you saw it in the budget.
No, that's not in the budget. No.
No, man, Ralston, come on now. No, make me find you guilty.
That's not in the budget. Me go through all of the budget numbers. None of the people in the media where you're talking go through the budget numbers. Every time you ask them, never read the budget book yet. No.
Ralston, me I go find the clip with Flavor when she say it in the budget.
None of the things they must announce where they're including that not in the budget. None. Let me tell you.
So what about the discretionary spending? It can't in that.
We don't say that. Let me get a thing. The budget numbers, the expenditure side, non-debt expenditure side, $917 billion, $495.8 billion for wages and salaries, and $354.9 billion for the programs that have to run the hospital, them, run the school, them, and run the that, and run the this, and run the that.
Yeah.
The only thing was in there apart from that was $2 billion for the Development Bank of Jamaica. We hear talk about and lending to the DBJ for small business. And then I ignore Antoinette them and say, oh, the detective story at DBJ where them can't get the money for borrow the upfront fees, them high and all of them something. That's not the budget. We read the budget already. Tell them go read the budget.
Well, I'm going to find a clip that Favour say it in there.
Yeah, man.
Because one of the things I want to know is how much that is. How much is that $20,000 per person really works out to? And none of the journalists them she talk to the Oscar me. I call her Oscar.
No, man, that, man. Only the other side of people them talk to certain, you know. Tell Julian about eerie theory and all of that.
Yeah.
Talk to them side of people that be bowing and scraping them.
Yeah.
Man.
All right, my brother. Give thanks.
Blessed. Yeah, man.
One love.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
804-7072 That was Ralston Iman, the legendary economics. I know it bono when me call Ralston. Me know no vex. But me challenge the guy them. You hear me a challenge on the for. Come ask Ralston about the figures. Come with some figures. We are hurt deep and I am alone hurt. Me hurt too because my country are good on the wrong part. And we Bujo say, who will run. But what about those who can't? They will have to stay. Opportunities are scarce commodity in this time, I say. So, there are those of us who willing to give our all for this to work. Yeah? So, don't misunderstand what we are about. We are about Jamaica. We're not about PNP. We're not about GLP. We are about who is best for our country. Who have our people at heart. When you can sit down and the man talk about JUTC and it run down and then you say, so what? People have care. In London, there's a thing called congestion charge. I hear say change now. Because what the authorities does is they try to prevent people from driving through the city. Less people drive through the city, less congestion, less emission. Yeah? So, when you fool, you fool. When you fool, you really fool. And I understand now that you are now officially a GLP troll. Grabbing at straws. So, when a man can say, so what about JUTC, tells you that him don't care about the average man in the street. Him don't care about the man who have to take the bus. So I want to hear Nadine Spence, because this shocked me.
Complaining about it for a while because it decapitalizes the sector. And if you want
Hold
to
on.
grow, and it appears
Should not come
that
up here.
both the PNP and JLP have recognized that the private sector needs to be empowered to grow the economy, then freeing up that extra capital by now phasing out the asset tax over time is now going to allow that capital to be deployed in more growth enhancing and revenue generating activity. And that will ultimately now help to bring interest rates down over time.
Any idea as to cost the opposition spokesman on finance presentation yesterday?
To be honest, I didn't know we were speaking specifically to it, and I didn't listen to all of it. I listened to some of the presentation because I had an appointment and had to skip out. I've been listening since morning. But what I heard since morning, in terms of the opposition, I think setting the record straight in respect of the government, their perception that the government is locking them out of the benefits of or the glory of claiming that Jamaica is returning to economic stability. I think they did that pretty well in terms of putting that out there. I think one of the points that the finance spokesperson made that clearly was very important in respect of getting people to listen was this idea that Jamaica is still borrowing. And I think as well that their detailing of the history of Jamaica's return to the IMF after the breakdown of the relationship with the IMF was something that they needed to say. I think this whole matter of productivity and growth has been dogging us, but particularly the productivity issue, because even though we seem to recognize and speak to productivity, there doesn't seem to be a response. Although in the Minister of Finance's response, there was a discussion about performance pay. It didn't link the productivity issues to the performance pay enough so that we could understand that we're dealing with this matter of productivity in a forthright manner. So I think their focus on productivity was important. And I don't know, if you pardon me, Kamoy, I listened to several budget presentations over the years. Last year, the Prime Minister had a very long presentation on productivity and how Jamaica is going to be dealing with the matter of productivity. But we are not hearing a kind of, focused, up to date, on update on the matter so that we can feel as if Jamaica is moving forward on this drought problem. So I think his focus on that was important. And again, the critique about the low growth, the low tech economy, again, that's something that you're wondering, how do we get out of this reality of this low growth? What are we gonna do? And I think the opposition presented an alternative. They presented an alternative, and we can now compare to say, what we heard from the Minister of Finance, was that enough? And is this alternative, we think, a suitable one?
Why, hear that coming out of Nadine Spence? It's something else. Something else, hear that coming from Nadine Spence. But she said it. The opposition presented an alternative. 804-7072. We're taking your calls right here on Portland Spice TV. Who God bless, no man curse. Yeah, man. And that's why we are still here, because we are blessed by the Almighty. Yes. Now, make we look at Port Antonio. What is happening, what it is that we are going to do for Port Antonio so that Port Antonio can enjoy growth as well. Port Antonio has not been growing. And we are echoing the sounds and all the calls of a development in Port Antonio that will bring new money to Port Antonio and Portland. It is certainly not moving jobs from uptown to downtown or downtown to uptown. We are saying to all and sundry, both to the PNP and to the GLP, that the next development in Portland should be the East Harbour development. We should develop the East Harbour in Port Antonio to accommodate mega liners. We have done a lot of work on this, lot of investigation, and it is available. It can be developed to accommodate the largest of the largest in East Harbour. Portland have a lot of attractions, needs development, and none of them needs refurbishing. But guess what? DP, I just say again, I didn't know say always low still, but go and show your colors, brother. Go and show your colors, make people see who you are. I now go even say all of them if you say, but you can go and say what you say. Port Antonio needs the East Harbour development. And I'm saying to anybody who have Portland at heart, say to those who don't know, those who claim that they are in charge, say to them, let them know that we want the East Harbour development right here in Port Antonio. I want to thank everybody this morning for coming on. We're going way over time, We are what? We are at 11:45, 1:45 in the US of A. Colin, can they... Hold on, where you go? Can the harbour now facilitate those mega liners? No, the West Harbour cannot accommodate those size ships. The East Harbour would have to be developed. The Oasis class, it was last night I was told that we have some bird there, some of the dolphins there that was put in a long time ago. And I was told last night that once those dolphins are in good position, as is right now, the East Harbour could take the Oasis class ships. And if we move those dolphins and bring them down to Fiero side, any size ship right now, any size passenger ship can be accommodated in the East Harbour. I even asked the person last night, do we need to dredge now to accommodate the Oasis class? And he said, no, don't even need dredging right now. I was shocked when I hear that. So the East Harbour, my people, is ready for development. And that is what we should be focusing on. That is what the PNP will be focusing on, a East Harbour development for Port Antonio. And once East Harbour develop and start running, the economy of Port Antonio will shut up. Yeah, man. So we're looking forward to seeing Isaac Buchanan as the next member of parliament for East Portland. Make it bonyo. Yeah? Because we need a member of parliament that can speak for us. We need a member of parliament that can represent us in any fora. And we're calling also on the people of Portland before we go. We're calling on the people that non-government and non-political organization to put themselves together and organize some debates. Organize some debates among the candidates. Every MP should debate their opponent at least one time. We need to hear where we don't have what it is that we're not going to do for the people of the constituency. I am suggesting 5 for East Portland. I'm suggesting 4 for West Portland. And if you ask me why, I'll tell you. East Portland have 5 parish council divisions. And I am saying 1 debate should be in each division. West Portland have 4. 1 should be in each division. Yeah? So, let me tell you something. If we are saying that you want to go to the parliament to represent the people, we need to hear you represent yourself. We need to hear you speak of what it is that you are going to advocating for. Colin, remember, while serving in the JCF, a Navy ship with 9,000 crew on board couldn't enter Kingston Harbor. It had to go to Montego Bay. Maybe too much ship was in the Kingston Harbor. Kingston Harbor accommodate the largest ship, them, brother. Yeah, man. So maybe too much ships was in the harbor already. Would have to be something like that. But as I said, I spoke to people in the know as recent as last night about East Harbour. And East Harbour can take the mega liners, the 7,000 passengers and 3,000 crew. Yeah, man. East Harbour can do it. And that would turn Port Antonio and Portland economy around. Would have turned up the economy down here. Would have turned up the attraction. Jobs would be plenty. Housing would have started move again in Portland. So what we need really is the East Harbour development. No urban center. Because I'm reminding you of one thing. The urban center must look good. The space down here so can't put that. Yeah? And the jobs are not here for that. What we need is new money. East Harbour development. Thanks, Sir Iman, for calling in, for touching base with me this morning. Thanks to MP candidate Dr. Dixon down there in Central Clarendon, North Central Clarendon. Thanks to Comrade Julian Robinson, Shadow Minister of Finance, for appearing on the program this morning. Thanks to all of you in the chat room, and thanks to DP for in behavior this morning. Me know your behavior. The people them never know, but them see it. Yeah? Them see it. So, I am saying that we open our phone lines to anybody to call. And you call with respect and decency, we give you your time to speak. Just like we gave Marlon Morgan his time to speak, and we gave DP him time to speak. Yeah? But when you are a troll, and we see your bitterness, so stay there with your bitterness. Time come for a new direction. Time come for Mark Golding to be Prime Minister. May the good Lord continue to bless and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his light and give you his peace, now and forevermore. Until we meet again, remember Tuesday evening, 4 o'clock Jamaica time, 5 o'clock in the US. Wednesday, same time, we are going to be right here on Portland Spice TV. And we are also going to be on Caribbean Radio HD. Big up on yourself. Remember, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Please and thanks. We're on our way to 4,000 subscribers. On our way to 4,000 subscribers. Please and thanks. Share it with somebody. Everybody get a 5 subscription for me there. Please and thank one of my people. Bless upon yourself. One love.